Da dee da da do. Da 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 dee. G'day guys, hope everyone's doing fantastically. We're kicking off with something a little bit different today, just a little bit different. Today of all days, hey John, Tommy Cars, today I wanted to kick off with talking about starting Mondays. So I'm calling this working title, but Monday Kickstarter. So what I'm going to do is quite simply, I asked chatbot GBT, give me a list of questions that are hard to answer and a list of things to comment on in regards to asking artists about Mondays. Hey Jules. So we won't be doing the usual, well, we might get a little bit too addicted and start, but we've got this canvas here, which is one I've started. You haven't seen it happening yet. I've just been doing it behind the scenes, and it's very, very rough right now. The reason it's so rough is we're bringing it from the ground up. Thanks, Witchy. And hey, Jules. Black Bunny. Well, instead, we're hanging out here, Black Bunny, and I reckon that's pretty cool. Now. We've got it all sorted. I've asked, like I was just saying, chatbot GBT for some hard things to talk about and to comment on in regards to starting on Mondays. Now, wherever you are in the world, it might not actually be Monday. You might be in a place like America, where I think you're still on Sundays. So, totally okay. Whatever you've got going on, if you're on Sunday, let's prepare you for Monday. If you're on a Monday, let's kickstart you. So, here we go. Chatbot GBT recommends. Hello, Justin. How we doing? Long time no see. Ooh, Sunday at 4 p.m. Yes, all right. Well, Justin, your Monday's coming up. So, let's start with this. How was the weekend? I'll tell you what. We were live yesterday, and if you were around for that live, it was the most beautiful day we could possibly have had for painting. We completed an artwork, which is always a really, really satisfying thing. And then the day before that, there was a, oh my God, actually, how rude of me. Oh my Lord. I've got some photos here, guys. I need to put them up. Here we go. Sneak peek. Ooh. There we go. Beautiful. Awesome. So the day before that, on the Sunday, I went to the beach again, and we had someone filming, and we had someone, we had music coming from a boombox, so 80s beats coming out, and it was about 3 or 4 hours of just painting on the beach, trying to create Project Dancer. Now, I'm going to show you a picture from it, which is naughty of me, because it's supposed to be hidden. I uploaded it to the Art of Painting channel on Instagram, but I haven't shown anyone yet. The content's going to start coming out today with a bit of luck. We'll see how we go. But this is a picture from Saturday. So that's me. That's the giant boombox we were using. And this here is the picture that we've made. So this is Project Dancer, and we've gone for a solo, modern, masculine male. And so it was amazing painting it because we used so much ridiculous, large movement to bring the painting together. Really draining actually. I was surprised at how much effort had to go into actually doing these giant, contorted, strenuous movements to actually bring it all together. But thoroughly enjoyed it. So that was Saturday. Sunday was the live on the beach, and now we're on Monday. How very exciting. Any extra highlights or moments of relaxation? No, that's about it. 2 sessions of painting. Honestly, I would have liked them to be a little bit longer, but I didn't pack enough stuff. Lunches and all this sort of jazz would have been nice. More water. That would have fixed a lot of the problem. And hey Jay, how you doing? Good to have you in here. Jay, I think I saw an email from you or a message on a platform. Now, I haven't got back to it yet, and I see you having some trouble around your Instagram. Totally okay, completely understand. From my end, yes, of course, I would absolutely love to make the work with you. Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll get on to it. Promise you that. Now, Yeah, so the picture's on the way, Jules. It's actually this one here. And I thought for fun, rather than just painting it like a regular picture, like the other pieces of art that we've worked on, I thought, let's actually do this one as a TikTok series. So I thought the best way to do that would be to do it by stage, and the way I've done it is with colours. Hey Jude, so it starts with, in this case, we've done it as simple as possible. So we went from black to blue to green to white so far. So there's 4 layers on it. But we're gonna have another, I think 15 total. We'll see how much series lets me upload. But the reason I wanted to do it as a TikTok series was that way you guys could jump on and replay it easily if you wanted to paint along with me. So there's a link to the Shutterstock photo, which is on Shutterstock, which is on Shutterstock. So you can download the image for yourself and you can paint along with me in the series. That's the plan. And it made me put a cost on it, which I didn't really want to do. I'd want the whole thing to, at least one of the series, to be completely free. But since it made me put a cost on it, I've put it on like $1, the lowest amount it would let me. Now, it's not just regular content. For regular stuff that we do here, to hang out, to paint, to enjoy the process, that's always going to exist, guys. The series is solely for people who want to pick up a paintbrush and paint along with me, Bob Ross kind of style. So that's there. And you'll see the titles of the series are the colors you'll need. You won't need anything else. We're not mixing. As you can see, it's raw paint cascading on the surface. You don't need acrylics or oils or any kind of color that you've got. Is totally fine, except for watercolor, because it won't mix right. But everything else, I swear, as long as it dries between the layers. And yeah, thank you so much. Oh, JS, yes, email would be phenomenal. I'm sharp on the emails, JS. Instagram's wild. You think you're on top of it one night and you send off a armada of messages, and then the next morning you wake up and it's been bumped down, like however many messages have come in, and you just lose things, and it breaks my heart. So sometimes to find things, I have to search in the search bar of messages and write in like commission or like specific people's names to try and find things. And yeah, so that's a whole thing. Next stage, there's 8 stages to go through this morning, guys, for our Monday. So 8 stages, and as we go, if questions come in, I'll just answer those. We'll end up on giant tangents, and we'll see where we end up. Hardest painting. That's a great question. I had a painting, a commission actually, that never made it to the client. I never gave it to the client, and you'd be like, why not? Because we couldn't thread the needle. And I knew it, and the client knew it, and we tried our very best. So, excuse me, it was a picture of 3 children. And the idea behind it is, with the 3 children, we would slowly make them in a picture on the beach there. And for some reason, the lighting in the photo, the structure of it, the kids, you might remember this one if you were around for it. We put 40 hours into it, and it's so heavy. Usually the artworks that ship weigh 10 kgs. This one weighed in at like 23 kgs. So I want you to imagine this painting has an additional 12 kgs of paint on it compared to the other works that we do. And it must have gone through an additional 36 or so layers compared to the other pieces we do. Now the time that went in and the additional paint did not make the result better. In fact, it made the result not good enough. It never left the studio. And we actually put the project on ice and stopped. And actually, I don't want to go back to it because it reminds me that it's a fantastic example of 50 hours and effort and pain and sacrifice doesn't make the picture better. Actually, having the right process, having the right 5 to 20 hours and putting your heart and soul into it so it can be represented, that's perfect. But thinking that I can just sit there and slowly whittle away at it and make it better, I tried that. And I say 50 hours, that's 50 hours of working time. If you got all the time on each side, the setup, the pack down, the times when the paintbrush isn't actually on the canvas, we're talking weeks. It was a big job and a big failed job, but that's okay. This is painting 101. Gene, I'm fantastic, and yes, it does happen sometimes. I think as artists, we do need to wrap our head around the possibility that no matter how hard we try and how desperately we want it, sometimes we can just simply fail. And that's okay. And I think the biggest thing to get over is accepting failure as an artist, because we always put that skew on things thinking, no, it was a creative journey, or I meant to do that. It's okay to make a random or spontaneous move and ruin a piece of art and know that you failed, because by highlighting that, you can actually find those moments when you were actually successful, and you can find immense pride in those moments. With Project Dancer, for example, I got to the end of it and I looked at it and I thought, there's not enough movement in this. I want more. And so I started getting lumps of paint into my hands and throwing it at the canvas in the different angles that I felt the movement was tracking. And the most wild thing about that is it brought it back in, and it actually added this crazy, intense, vitalized movement into the whole painting. And that was a risk. That could have ruined everything up until that point, but it paid off in this instance. And that one it didn't, and this one it did. So take the risk, and don't be afraid when you fail. You've been in here saying that comment each time with the Asian name there. I can't speak the language. Is that Chinese? I'm a taken man, I'm a happy man, and I don't believe in that. I think it's much more important that you find someone who, you've heard me yarn about this before, but find someone who actually loves you and who finds your dreams essential, not just something to be supported. Hello, Kelly, welcome on in. And I can't scream that out enough. It doesn't matter. If you're trying to pick up things like superficial things, how do they look? Do they fit nicely into what I expect? This is junk. When it comes down to you finding your best friend or true love, really just think, are they the sort of person who deep down really wants me to be the best version of myself, wants me to be truly happy, and thinks that my dreams are so essential that they'll sacrifice things on their end to make me happy? If that's the case, you need to hold on to people like that and never let them go, because they are rare and they are very hard to find. So that's what I reckon. Anyway, you have the same shirt. Yeah, my mum got me this shirt, so big fan of it. It's a little bit baggy around the waist, but I do like it across the shoulders. It's a nice fit. Anyway, we're getting distracted. Hello, Steve. How we doing? And Jay. Jeepers. Room filled up with some fun people. Gene. Okay. I will move on to the next stage, which is reflection. But before I do that, I want to answer Gene's question, because this is an important one. Guys, I'm not a sponsor or supplier of any kind of paint, okay? So I'm not going to recommend paints to you and say this is the only paint you can buy. That's not the case. But what I will say, is that if you're going to spend money anywhere and splurge, if you're thinking of upgrading, upgrade your paint first. Now, high quality paint usually has more pigment in it and makes the colour pop better. They'll add less waters and less fillers. Usually the cheaper paints can be far less saturated and more chalky. Now that doesn't mean use Liquitex, use Atelier, use NF, all that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that if you do have the budget, upgrade the paint first. And I'll say the last thing you want to upgrade, and this is going to have some artists flipping out, I'm sure, the last thing to upgrade is the paintbrushes. Don't upgrade the paintbrushes. I've got these little ones in here. These are $10 paintbrushes. I buy them from a store called Warehouse Stationery here in New Zealand. Now, I want to show you something. This one here, this little fella, that's a $70 brush. This one here, $70 brush, New Zealand, so it's $50 American-ish. This one here is an $8 to $10 brush, this one. And I love this brush to bits. It's synthetic material, it does the job, it's easy to wash, it feels beautiful to hold, and no, it doesn't last for years and years and years, but the way I go with them it's not going to anyway. So this is my kind of brush. So I say save money on the brushes, spend big on the paint, but it doesn't really matter what kind of paint. They'll all work slightly differently. So, and I can't say what mine is because I've got a range of about 3 or 4 at the moment. I vary between soft-bodied and heavy-bodied acrylics. Those two kind of paints, and when I use the egg tempera, I add mediums in to make it match soft and heavy-bodied acrylics. But if you like the paint to be more flowy and thin, soft-bodied acrylics are your bag. And if you want it to be thick and heavy, heavy-bodied acrylics are. But the acrylics themselves, whether you go cheap or expensive, it's really much of a muchness, guys. It really comes down to the budget. So sorry that was a long-winded answer there, Gene, but it is important because I know a lot of artists out there do say, you know, this is the paint. It's not so much the case, it's more what are your means, what can you afford, and then depending on the country you're in, what can you get your hands on. Atelier versus Liquitex versus, who's another brand that I've been using? Abstract Acrylic. They're all fairly similar, but depending on the local art store you've got, one might be more accessible than another. That's totally okay. You're welcome, Gene. Thanks, I could help. Glad I could help out. And cheers, Kelly. All right, next one, reflection. This is a big one. What achievements or progress are you proud of from the last week? Yeah, that's an important one. Okay, so this is a big thing. I haven't actually read through these questions yet, so these are going to catch me a little bit off guard. That's a big one, and I don't typically do this. My personality style and my general character is tick that off, charge ahead to the next thing. Be positive about it, but ignore what you've done. And self-reflection on how the previous week went, that can be pretty important. And so I'm glad it's wrote me up on that. What am I proud of from the last week? I cleaned the house, gave the house a massive clean. I got closer to getting the egg tempera paint where I wanted it to be, more buttery, to be quite precise, to make it spread better. This is where we're at right now, so it's behaving a lot more like an oil than a thinned tempera or acrylic, and that's what I want. I want that tempera effect of natural, chemical-free beauty, but I want that lovely buttery effect of oil. So we got closer with that. I'm really proud that we've done that as a team, and we got closer. Oh, and the one thing I let myself down on, I shouldn't say this because this is about boosting things up, but I let myself down on the prints. I haven't uploaded the prints yet, so that's disappointing. But anyway, we'll get those prints uploaded. That's my goal for later on today and early this week to get that sorted. We will get it sorted. I saw a question there, sorry guys. Do you make your own canvases or do you buy? That's actually, thanks Gene, because I do make my own canvases, but that's something that I've changed over last week to perfect. So I've usually used masonite boards, which are oil tempered hardboards. They are 98% wood, ground down wood, 1% linseed oil and 1% resin, which is really good. Things like MDF wood has like 17, sometimes 15 to 17% PVAs in them. And that means they don't last long term. 500 years down the track, it'll be ruined. Now, although the masonite only has 1% linseed, it'd be better if it was 0. So it's still got it in there. Now, since it's still in there, one thing I like to do is if you either use rubbing alcohol to remove the linseed oil or sand it back lightly, I wrap the canvas around it. So binding medium to actually separate it, canvas around it, and then I service the canvas basically exactly like the old masters used to, with sizing, binders, and then when I use the egg tempera mix, it's on canvas, but it's on a hard surface. And egg tempera can be quite brittle, so it can break. So canvas on a hard surface is better than loose canvas for longevity of egg tempera. Absolutely, Kelly. You get on back to work. Thanks for popping on in here. Appreciate you. Okay. Is there a specific challenge you overcame recently? How'd you tackle it? That'd be these canvases, guys. Now, I haven't fully settled for how the backs actually get tied down. I've been thinking of stretching them round. I've been thinking of gluing them down, of nailing them down onto slightly thicker boards. Once we get that nailed down, excuse the pun, we'll move on to showing you guys in a reel or some live sessions on how they're made, because some of you, depending on where you are in the world, may not have access to really nice canvases. And if you don't have access to really nice canvases, but you can get the canvas rolls, this can be a really cool method for you. So part of the reason I do it is it still gives me the canvas, gives me that more rigid surface, gives me the longevity, and has the uptick bonus of being really easy and safe to ship. So a couple of perks coming out there from this style. But let me nut out the back, and then once I've got that all sorted, I'll tell you exactly how to go about making the whole thing, rather than saying, I haven't got this really figured out yet. But in fact, if I don't figure it out, that's what we'll do. We'll just glue it, and I'll say, this is the part where I sort of run out of ideas. Okay, motivation. What inspires you to start your week on a positive note? Porky, shellac. A lot of art teachers are obsessed with shellac, and the reason they like shellac a lot of the time is shellac's not that bad. It's actually, in terms of a thing that you can just, I think you can add just into water and get it going. It's very light on fumes. It's very natural. There's a lot to like about shellac. Now, it's not the be-all, end-all, but it's definitely worth the business. Definitely worth experimenting with. And if you love mixed media, shellac can be absolutely phenomenal. It has these amazing, beautiful tan effects, and it's see-through, and yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty. I should say I don't personally use it, but it does exist. It's a great medium, and if you like it, play with it. All right. Coming back there to that thing I just read. Okay, starting your week on a positive note. One thing I've started doing recently, which has been really helpful, and it's so cheesy, is I've been writing down a list of what I want to get done during the day. It's on my phone, so I can't see it right now, but the list, it's only got 4 things on it. Usually your day involves millions of different things, and you end up charging off in all sorts of directions. But with a thing that just isolates what you want to get done on Monday. So my list has run on it, so I need to go for a run today. My list has upload the prints, so I want to get the 3 prints ready and set up so people can order them via the store. And then tomorrow we'll probably tell everyone about it, but we'll get them uploaded first. Get the photos out there about Project Dancer, and do about 4 more sessions on this with the colours for the series. And once that's done, it's a ticked off Monday. And if I have more time, I'll use that to do whatever I like. But if I crumble and start having challenges and start doubting myself and whatever may happen, you can then, if you end up playing an app or whatever might happen, you don't disappoint yourself and get angry at yourself, because you had a list that you started the day with. You ticked off that list, and if you did start mucking around after that, it's not so much your fault now. Add more to the list on the next day. So anyway, I've been list keeping. So if the list looks like it will be helpful, I might start sharing that list with you guys too, so you get like an itinerary of what a said day looks like. And then it'll make a bit more sense when you see, like, I say things like, oh, we're going to be live at 2 p.m. And then he's not there till 4, and like, see, things can happen. You're at your framer, or you're getting the photos taken of the works, and time just goes out. Classic example with Hibiscus, the surfboard. Because the surfboard had this amazing glowing coat on it, it was really hard to photograph. So we needed to cover every surface in the photography studio with black, so it wouldn't reflect light. We had to cover up all the white, which was a massive job. So what turned out to be a live session that was supposed to start at like 11 a.m. got pushed right back to like 5 p.m. just because a wild card came along and we had to deal with it. So yeah, I think what we'll start doing if I get really good at assigning myself goals for each day is I'll start sharing it in the story of Instagram and TikTok, so you guys can see, okay, this is what Seb's setting as his goals as an artist each day. And sometimes if you're feeling pretty beaten up, sometimes just maintaining and checking your messages and getting in front of a canvas, whether you go live or not, is enough of a goal, depending on the stage you're at as an artist. Coming up here, which feeds nicely into Jean's question, getting over artist block. Artist block isn't something you can just charge through. Don't think you can just overpower it. You can get by it maybe in the early stages by being mentally tough, but it doesn't address the root problem. You just get through the day. And I think a lot of artists use up their willpower and mental strength getting through the day, until every day that you get through, you wake up the next morning and the actual willpower and mental energy needed has increased. And then eventually you get to a day where you can't overpower the block that you haven't addressed. And so with that being the case, the best thing to do with artist block, I find, is to address it as soon as you feel it. And the best way I've found to do it is a preventative approach. And the reason I say preventative approach is when you're feeling good, you're in the best state to look after yourself. When you're not feeling good, figure out your tips and tricks now, when you're slick, when you're making art, when you're on fire with your career, whatever that might be. Figure out what you need when you're not so hot. The best person to look after you, and this is going to sound rich, but the best person to look after you is you when you're in a great mood. No one understands you better than you. If you do have someone that understands you better than you in your life, that's fantastic. Lucky you. Not everyone has that. But the past you can set up things now. When I say past you, that's you. Set up things now for when future you has their crash, has their hiccup, runs into troubles, has their battles or their blocks. And here's a couple of things that I would personally set up. I would set up a playlist that you don't listen to, that you keep in a folder on Shopify or Spotify, wherever you like to keep it. And then when future you needs it, there's all these songs which resonate with you, which release feeling and expression and energy within you to actually revitalize you. If you listen to it all the time, you'll desensitize to it. If you keep it there for when you need it, it'll pop you into the mood and you'll be good to go. So I really, really, really encourage you to have a playlist like that. For me, I'll be honest, I have, it's not amp up songs. It's not like DMX, let's get, no. My one has Disney in it. My one has a lot of old school songs. Think more like stuff that you used to listen to in the pre-adolescent teen stage of your life that really embedded itself into your semantics, deep within you. What's that song? It makes me feel funny when you come around. Now, honey, whatever do without you. I don't know what it's called, but that song's on there. That sort of stuff that can resonate with you and really throw a beat into what you're doing. The other things that I like to do, quick one, I was talking about it on a reel recently, changing your environment. Have multiple environments set up, ready for you to paint in. And when I say ready for you to paint in, I don't mean have an easel there, have paint there, have it rented. Just know that some places work for you to paint in. A good example is, a park has a tree, which usually doesn't get a lot of foot traffic, but you have a great view and you get good shade and it's easy to get to from a car park. A lot of things ticked off. Hey, Johnny Cash. A lot of things ticked off in that spot. When your studio, whether it's your home studio, your work environment, or your usual spot where you paint, isn't hitting the spot for you and you can feel a block coming on, just this sort of anxiety or strangulation of belief that you really should be here and can do this. When that starts to come on, go to that other spot and change the environment in which you've put yourself in. And when you do that, all those little psychological things that your mind's built up and started to fear, walking through the door, walking down the hallway, setting up your tools, using the same sink, using the same bathroom, using the same jug to make a coffee, that all just flitters away because you're in a new environment. So new environment, playlist you don't use, and I think those are two good ones. Those are two good ones to start with. Now. Next thing. Share a quote, a mantra, or a piece of advice that motivates you. I think one that I've been thinking about probably too much. Can you repeat? Hey, my Outlander, welcome on in. Basically, I was saying if you are having artist block and troubles, take a preventative approach, deal with it before you end up in the rut, have your toolbox ready, have a playlist you don't listen to, have it ready on the side and listen to it when you need it, and make sure they're songs that you love, not songs that you've been told that you love. Really make sure it resonates with you. And sometimes that's not the mainstream, sometimes that may be stuff that's a little more weird and different. Be you. And then obviously change the studio, have spots ready you can go and paint in. Next thing, hello Jose, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, the quote that I've been sitting on for a while, one quote that's been resonating with me for a while now, and I posted it in an email and I've said it before on Twitter, I think, is minds are like parachutes. They only work when they're open. Now, that quote keeps having me think because I think especially with something like art, where it's not about having complete control, I think even when you have a direction and a goal that you want, to actually always be able to have that open mind and encourage the chaos, encourage the unknown into a picture, that becomes quite fundamental. And so thinking back to your own mind over and over, I like asking myself the question, is my mind open right now? Or am I closing myself off to possibilities in order to get a result in which I just believe is the best? And sometimes it's the latter. Sometimes I think I know what's best. And so I'm forcing the painting down a road where actually if I just had an open mind, like a parachute, it could go in a direction which I couldn't think of because I'm not the smartest man in the world, that I couldn't think of, wasn't able to even conceive of, but had I had the open mind, could have found. So have an open mind, be a parachute, and everything just works better. Okay, next one. Number 4. Oh, we're on number 4 now. Okay, and number 4 is goals. Cool. This is a great one, actually. Not just for artists, but for everyone. But predominantly for creatives. How often do we just trudge along and do our thing, but never actually set goals? And when we do set goals, we panic, overthink, and self-implode. So goals are really important, not only knowing what to set, but how to set them. Okay, let's see what they ask about it though. What are your main goals this week, both personally and professionally? Okay, that's a big one. And I think that's a really interesting take on it, because when I was just talking just then, I was definitely making it sound like professional goals, but actually as a creative, having personal goals and trying to bring your brain, your mind, your being to a certain stage is just as important as trying to bring your business, your objectives, your craft to a certain stage. So, yes, thank you, Porky. Westlife, World of Our Own, absolute slapper of a song. That's what the kids say these days, it slaps. I figured that out. And another band, Savage Garden. I'll give it a Savage Garden. There's You Wanna Cry. Truly, Madly, Deeply. Another song. Love that song. These sort of old school love songs actually remind me what I'm talking about when I say transposing love onto the artwork. I know they don't resonate with everyone these days, but for me, these old school songs really do remind me that when I was a kid, I believed in true love. The live's lagging. Hopefully that stops, Montana. When I was a kid, I believed in true love, and I believed with 100% of my heart that I was going to find it. And then as life goes along, we start to doubt ourselves and we start to think the songs are nonsense until you find it again, and then you realize every song was completely valid. Where am I going with that? When I paint, I try and put or transpose a bit of that love onto the canvas. And so those old school songs, provided I don't over listen to them, to actually insatiable, provided I don't over listen to them, can have a drastic impact in actually reminding you about those feelings of a pre-adolescent teen that didn't have doubts, that didn't have insecurities, and that genuinely believed that he or she or anyone can deserve love and be a person that's not only meaningful in someone else's life, but you could have someone in yours that means the world to you. So old songs have that effect for me. Anyway, where was I? Just unlock this iPad again. If I unlock the iPad. Okay, so sorry, my goals personally for this week. I haven't set any goals for the whole week yet, just for today. So let me think here. Professionally for this week, I'd like to release 2 new originals. Nothing too intense, step by step, but actually make them and turn them into TikTok series. I've had a lot of people asking me about the craft behind the pieces that I make, and I haven't shared it. It's just been non-stop lives where you just get a snippet. And so I want to create an environment where you feel from 2 directions. You feel comfortable as an artist, joining in and following along in this silly, I say silly, it sounds mean and self-deprecating, but it is, it's loose, it's playful, and joining on that process and loosening up in your own form of art. And then I want to make it also for people who aren't artists but want to get inside the mind of an artist and think the way they think. So 2 of those, I want to upload prepare all the prints I have in the Shopify store. So then everyone who's been waiting, a lot of people have been thinking about buying prints, but I've been saying don't. And anyone here, if you're thinking about buying a print, please don't, because there's 5 more coming. And so I don't want you to buy one now, and then when the new ones come out, you think, oh, I wish it was that one that I had on the wall. So wait for the new ones to come out so you've got the full spectrum to make a decision from. And that's on the way. That's on the way. So that's another goal. And then personally, almost forgot this part. Personally is one of the most important parts. Personally, I want to get more, this is going to sound like the wrong word, but more control over my life. And that I've been skipping the gym maybe every 3rd day. I don't go. And it doesn't need to be the case. They're not big workouts I have. Sometimes it's just a little jog. Sometimes you're so not in the mood to move that you just sit down on the mats and have a stretch with Disney playing in your ear or a podcast. Sometimes it's as simple as just showing up to the gym, getting on a treadmill, having it on speed 5 and walking and listening to a podcast and ignoring the fact you're even in the gym. So I haven't even been doing that. So on the 30% of the time I'm letting myself down this week, I'd like to go along a total of at least 5 to 6 times this week. So we'll find out. That's one personal goal I'm setting for myself. Not for workouts, just show up in the building and stretch or walk if you have to. Just show up. And that's a big thing that I talk about in painting too. We get so hung up thinking, I need inspiration before I can start actually painting. And I don't believe inspiration puts anyone in front of the canvas. I believe it's the motivation that puts you in front of a canvas, the willingness to show up. And then while you're painting, it proliferates the inspiration. That's what I think. DMA, they have awesome songs. All right, Porky, I'll give them a look. But for me, a lot of the time too, remember, it's the songs you listened to when you were 13 and 14. Those are the ones that'll really pop you into shape. Anyway, Gene. Okay, we'll do one, and then let me dive into the next question. Is there a specific project you're excited to work on? Okay, cool, we've already done that one. The specific project I was excited to work on was the series to show you the actual step-by-step of making an artist, the actual, and being able to join along with me. I'm imagining and hoping that people will be able to get the series and sit down with their partner on a Thursday with a glass of wine and maybe some art supplies that are purchased, from, a little DIY kit style thing, and just making art and following along with the course. It's called a course. Following along with it. It's so basic and fun. Basically, it is my style. I haven't oversimplified it for the course. We just go from colour to colour, and it's just so straightforward and fun. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. And sorry, thing I love to paint the most, it changes. But right now, I have an absolute obsession for the sea. For some reason, I'm in love with waves and reflections. Now, I don't know why. I've done sea and sea before, but for some reason right now, I'm just addicted. I think in the past, I've always done it, but I think when I saw Mahalo, I really saw a transposing of vitality through ocean, and that sort of stayed with me and kept niggling in my mind that I want to do it again, I want to do it again, I want to do it again. So I think that's where that love's coming from right now. But ocean and reflections. And the reflection part, I don't know, I love reflections, the way that it sort of distorts itself in the reflection of the water, and then you end up actually seeing the picture or the person or the elephant, like Zambezi River. You see it, it's in the water, but it's the water that's showing you the thing. And so it feels like it's another step in the artist's progression, because instead of you looking at paint and it's the artist trying to show you something, it feels like I'm trying to show you water, but then the water itself, aside from me, is trying to show you a picture, and it feels like there's another creator in the mix. It's quite cheesy, but I mean that. It feels like there's another creator in the room. Yeah, it's a good sized mug. It's a little bit of instant, but promise it's not a hot chocolate. Big fan of it. I actually I'll be honest with you, Heather, I half fill this mug. So if you fill it the whole way up, you need to add too much coffee to it to keep the strength right. And so what I'll typically do is I'll put 1 scoop of coffee in it and half fill. Anyway, and thanks, Richard. You're an absolute legend. Okay. That's good, Gene. Okay, number five. We've done 4 so far. We're on to number 5. It's going great. I'm actually really enjoying this. My plan was, guys, to actually do this with you every Monday morning. We could touch base, probably 9 a.m. New Zealand time, and talk through what I'm going to do on Monday and across the week as an artist. And hopefully, whether it's your Sunday or your Monday, you might be able to take little bits of it and run in your own week. Whether you just catch 5 minutes or the whole thing, or 2 minutes or 20 seconds. Hopefully I'm thinking more like a Kickstarter for a Monday to get you in the right mood. And me in the right mood secretly and selfishly, to hold me as an artist and a sole trader accountable to think, okay, what are my actual goals? Am I achieving my goals both personally and in the career? Because too often we overfocus on the career part and we let our personal goals slip. It always seems to be the way it goes, but as an artist, you can't afford to let your personal goals slip. Otherwise, the career is hollow, because you are the thing that has to express and feel to make the artwork. So it's a big part. Anyway, what artist inspired you the most? When you say early years, though, you mean when I was very, very young? When I was the whole way through my life, I've always been intensely inspired by Van Gogh, because he was a tortured artist. And I think when I was younger, I used to, what would you say? His story was almost heroic. It was made into a beautiful thing by everyone else. But then as I grew older, I stopped thinking the story was as heroic and started feeling immense empathy. Not sympathy, but empathy for Van Gogh's story, and thinking he did his very best. He'd stumbled across something very, very beautiful. Can I get a hoorah? Hoorah? He'd stumbled across something very, very beautiful, but hadn't actually found his people. And I think he experienced real love when he was making his art, but I would have loved Van Gogh to actually experience love outside of his art. He deserved, whether he deserved to or not, I mean, I think everyone deserves to be loved. And he never really found that off a canvas. And I would have loved for him to do that. I would have loved to see if him finding love in the real world outside of his actual artistic creations, would it have changed his art? Or would it have made it more beautiful? Or, regardless of whether he found love in the world or not, would his art have stayed the same? And that's a question I'd personally like to have answered, because I'm a strong believer, as you guys know, that you don't need to have a process of pain and suffering and sacrifice to make great art. I think a process can be made through vitality, joy, and growth. I think it's easier to use sacrifice and pain. I think it's an easier source because I think we've all got pain and sacrifice and trauma in our lives, and to feed off that to make art is so widely accepted and somewhat easy to channel. But if you are in a tough space and you're battling with your own psychological mood and your own feelings, sometimes it can be really tough to actually think, okay, I know I'm feeling these things, but I need to channel the vitality, the positivity, and the good in this world and bring it out of me and put it on the canvas. And sometimes, I don't want to say it's a fight, but it can be very mentally draining to actually, especially on certain days, find the real good and the happiness in that particular day and then drive it onto the canvas. So anyway, oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys. Let me just get back into this. Come down to the, oh, where'd it go? I've lost it. Here we go. Oh, fantastic. Number five, creativity boost. Share something creative that caught your attention recently. That's a good question. That's a very, very good question. And to do that, I'm going to come into Instagram and I have to scroll down through a few bits and pieces. Dun, 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 dun. Where are you? Where are you? Dun, dun, dun. Where are we hiding? Okay, here we go. There we go. Cool. This is quite a simple one, and I think that makes part of the beauty to it. Yeah, Porky, go for gold. Van Gogh's an absolutely fantastic gentleman. He's a great story to look at, but please don't get hung up in the trauma and the pain of the story. Try and see it from multiple angles and take away what you can to, I don't want to say not repeat Van Gogh's footsteps, because Van Gogh's made so much beauty to make the world what it is, but take away what you can to try and make your story one that's beautiful and happy and vitalizing, because I believe you can have the same impact of Van Gogh without causing the same amount of self-sacrifice and pain. Okay, just quickly, I'm going to show a piece of artwork from someone who's not typically, they're not a full-time artist. They paint in their spare time and they draw, but they actually spend most of their time studying because they want to become a certain type of career in a different angle. They were in their room studying the other night and they shared this photo with me. This is a picture from their balcony. And the reason why I like this is it's so very simple, guys. It's the moon. It's a big, bold, beautiful moon. Slightly the color of cheese, but the reason why I like that is no matter what you're doing, sometimes the real artwork isn't just on the laptop in front of you, isn't just on the canvas that you're toiling over. Sometimes the real art is these small little moments and pockets around you, things you never even were aware of could be art. The way the paint splashes on the floor, the way the paint ends up on your hands, the way the paint palette looks. And I'm not saying look for a sermon in every little thing that you do, but actually see the small amount of beauty in everything that can appear around you. And sometimes, if only for a few seconds, I love to look at the paint palette after the job's finished and look at the messy paint dripping off the porcelain. I know it's not art. I know it's not the art we desired to make, and it's not something that's going to change the world. But in that brief moment, you can find a little bit of pleasure in enjoying the wildness of this paint that only insinuates or exists to prove that that took place. That's really fun. Anyway, next thing. Having some real fun here. Oh, I think I saw a question there, but I was just finishing off that trail of thought. Jen, I'm going through a stage where I hate every piece of art I make. I don't know how to deal with it. Okay, that's interesting. And would you just do something for me out of interest? Because I've done this before as well. In terms of the art that I've made, I've started to resent the art I've made and hate it. And this can seed itself and turn into you not only hating all the art you make, but believing that you can't make art and that everyone is better than you. So the question comes down to, would you allow me to give you a little bit of advice or a little task to do? And it's similar to what I did. Thanks, Porky. Trying to give some advice on saving an artist. I've got glasses on my face. Okay, so the advice I'd give is to get a pad or a notebook and write in the notebook on each painting what you don't like about it, what's stirring you up, what do you resent about the painting. And what you'll probably see is there's not consistency between what you don't like about these paintings. You've just found things not to like. And I can't say for your case, I don't know you, I've only seen the one comment, but for me, when I did this exercise, and I did it for me, and reviewed what I was saying about my paintings, I realized that it wasn't the paintings that were the problem. Actually, people see them and they tell me that they like the paintings, they love the paintings, that's great, and this is great, and that's great. The problem was I hated myself, and when that occurred to me, I realized I was taking out my dislike for who I was on every painting. I was resentful and I started to take it out on every single painting I was making, saying that's terrible. And the reason I was doing that is because if you're painting really, really well, your paintings are a representation or a window into yourself. And so my painting was the best it had ever been. I was making masterpieces. But they were masterpieces representing my own self-resentment. And so realizing that meant that, okay, one of the best, that's where my whole view on painting with growth and love comes from. Because if I actually loved myself, if I could actually look at myself and look at your flaws, look at the things that aren't perfect about you, but accept that you're doing your best, accept that you want to do your best, and accept that though you're not perfect, you'll do everything you can to achieve the dreams of not only yourself, but the dreams of the past you, the 5-year-old and the 12-year-old had for who you'd be. If you can try your best to do that, then that comes out in the artwork, that although it's not perfect, although it's not at the end of its journey, or it's messy, or it's wild, it's trying its best. It has this vigor, the vitality, and this happiness into it. It didn't resent itself. And I think the most important thing in the brushstrokes of, say, this painting, for example, this is a funny one because it's only 2% of the way through the process. But you look at it, and there's love in the picture. And the reason there's love in the picture is you don't get any sense that the brushstrokes or their creator are resentful. It's peaceful, and in its wild, chaotic weirdness, there's peace. And I think that's yeah. So that's where I come from there. So I would say, looping back to the start of that, hey Birdie, and Josh, we're a Kiwi, so we're in Auckland. I would say, looping back to that, write down notes of what you don't like about your paintings, And if there's no correlation between your dislike of each one of your works, it's probably something that you need to look at with self-reflection and leave the paintings out of it. But if you look at the paintings on the flip side of that, if you look at the paintings and you're spotting the same thing, you're thinking your technique with brushwork or your use of colour isn't where you want it to be, this is more of a craft aspect. And when you realise that, you can take action to fix that separately. But if it's a scattergun approach, it's probably more of a thing that you need to look inward for. At least that's what I've found. So please don't take that as gospel. This is one person's journey. Your one may be entirely different, and go on that. Anyway, okay. Creativity boost. Share something that caught your attention creatively. Okay, that was the moon there. Love that. Finding little moments of beauty outside of the main goal. Is there a specific project oh no, we've done that one. I'm just losing track of myself. How do you plan to infuse creativity into your work this week? It's a weird question. I think we do that every time. Hello from Southview, Florida, guys. How do I plan on infusing creativity into the work this week? Well, we've changed the surface we paint on a little bit. We've changed the paint that we use a little bit. We're using the same brushes, and we're in the, to take a mechanical approach to it, I've been getting some feedback, and rightly so, that the light coming from behind me in the studio is too intense. I know this is probably not creativity, but we're going to fix the lighting in the studio with a little drop cloth. So that way the actual spotlights I've got highlight the artwork so you can see it properly rather than it becoming black from the lights behind it. But apart from that, we're trying to put creativity into every work that we do. That's the fundamental purpose of art. Creativity. Yeah, interesting word actually. Creativity. I like creativity because create. So we talk about actually, is your art creating or is it duplicating? And a lot of the time I think that art gets confused with craft, and we start getting into a process of duplicating something. And you see an artist that you like and you say, how can I copy that? Or teach me your style. When actually everyone's on their own unique journey, and we have a responsibility as artists or creatives of any kind to create, not to just duplicate. And I think we got our biggest example of that when AI has started coming on the scene, and AI doesn't create as such, not at the moment anyway. It duplicates, so it gets the whole field of human knowledge and duplicates pockets of it to create all sorts of pictures. And people don't like it as much because they feel like it's not new, it's not expressive, it's not human and lost in the moment. That's because it feels more like a duplication. So as an artist, focus on that creation and less on the duplication. Ooh. Listen to the Mark Zuckerberg interview on the meaning of life. Well, look at that. Me and Mark have the same opinions. Truly wild. Okay, sorry. Coming back in here. Hold on. There we go. Number 6. We're on to number 6. Here we are. And hey Sash, hey Michael. Okay. Is there anyone in the group you'd like to collaborate with or learn from? Is there anyone it says the group, let's say, is there anyone I'm connected with who I'd like to collaborate with or learn from? One of those people was certainly Drew Brophy, who we started doing the surf painting of. His partner, Maria, wrote a book. I fell in love with that book, and I've always wanted to do something in collaboration with Drew, which was the painting that I had the absolute pleasure and honour of making. Now that that's done though, that can't be my answer. So who right now would I love to collaborate with? right now, who I'd really like to collaborate with is Movember. So I've been talking to them via Instagram, and we're starting an email conversation to auction off a painting for Movember. And the reason why is because I'm growing a mustache, but it's not the most intense mustache, to bring attention to it. But rather than just bringing attention to an occasion, I want to actually go about raising funds for it. And so if it comes to fruition, I'd love to set up a platform on the website to run an auction. So I think it's called a silent auction, I'm not quite sure, where people can bid and buy a painting, essentially. There'll be one painting up for grabs, and people can bid on it to get it. And it'll cover the costs of it and the shipping, but past that, every dollar can go to funding mental health awareness and suicide awareness here in New Zealand. And that would be very meaningful. So that's a group that I'd love to collaborate with, and they're a charity based here in New Zealand. Coming back up here, that's most... Oh, Jean, you're more than welcome. And Jean, if you do pop into these lives and have more to add on, I would love to pass on more where I can. And if you do want to reach out via Instagram, the best place to reach out is via email. I'm much sharper on those. If you run into any other struggles. So I'm here for you. Yes, absolutely. And Steve and Pink, one of the big things that I tout here, probably the wrong word, that I push on TikTok, these lives, and on Instagram, is that Martinez, I appreciate your excitement, but this is quite an important topic. Is that, hey, nice guess. It's actually the sea. They're heading out into the waves, so it has that early morning aspect of chirping birds coming into it. Sorry, going back there, artists as people who use expression and feelings to make art, if you think about it, art has no purpose as a utility. It doesn't bring water to the house. It doesn't help you start your car. It doesn't turn on the lights. This is not what art does. But art does bring happiness to your life. It can bring vitality to your day. And so these effects are more about your personal well-being, your feelings, and your own expression. And so since those things become so important, are so important for us as human beings, as in 2023, people do struggle. Like, I think we talk about mental health, and in New Zealand we're calling it a mental health crisis. We talk about these issues, and I think the amount of people that we talk about having mental health challenges or going through mental health challenges, it's an iceberg, and the top of the iceberg is just out of the water. But so many people are struggling in silence and too afraid to share, and they're breaking in silence, and they're reconstructing themselves in silence. And the worst thing that happens, not just that you break, it's okay to break, and struggling in silence isn't great, but that's also something that happens, is the fact that you break, and then when you reconstruct yourself, you build yourself with giant walls and shields around your personality or who you are as a being. And what that does is it stops or makes it incredibly difficult in the future to form meaningful connections with humans, which is the most important and meaningful thing that you can do on the face of this planet. And so when we talk about a mental health crisis and tackling that, we're talking about people struggling in silence, breaking in silence, and then covering themselves with mental barriers to never let it happen again, and therefore never feel the connection with another human being again. That's something tragic in itself. It's tragic. It's absolutely tragic to lose people, and it's also tragic for the ones who stay behind with shields to never connect again. So anyway, that's why I'm really passionate about artists. Since we are dealing in feelings and expression, we as artists or creators have the responsibility, holding hands in a skate arena. I like that. Art's subjective. That's the best blurb I've heard about for it so far. Anyway, since artists are dealing with feelings and expression, and they've got a responsibility to actually highlight those things in the artwork or in the way they produce the artwork. And I think there's an enormous power for creatives to actually show everyone else, plumbers, electricians, hedge fund managers, small business owners, restaurant owners, waiters, surfers, whoever. Since we work in expression, we need to express first and foremost that it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to be open, and it's okay to be exposed. And through that, we can get more human connection. And that's a cool thing to gun for. Anyway, next one. Share your thoughts on the power of collaboration and achieving common goals. Well, I think we all know that. I think collaboration is a very, very powerful tool when it comes to growing a business or connecting in any way. But in terms of actually using collaboration in the... Sorry, I lost my trail of thought there. As a growing tool, sometimes collaborating can be handy because someone can be have less of a following or a presence in business as another person, but the collaboration can help the business connect with people they want to connect with and help the smaller person, or whatever the relationship might be, actually help grow who they are. So there's giant perks with this sort of stuff, but collaboration is important. Otherwise you're going it alone. That's a common sense one. Big common sense. Anyway, next one. Okay. Well-being. Okay, this is good. We've done a bit of well-being already, but that's the next. That's number 7 on the list. So well-being. How do you prioritize self-care and well-being in your routine? I think looping back, it's quite easy to prioritize. Excellent. This is made from egg. It is quite easy to prioritize well-being and self-care without, should I say that? It's not easy, but you can bring more attention to it because, like I say, when you're not in a good mental state, the art's not. And so you have to constantly address that in order to stay on the right form. I typically find as an artist, we do become quite solidified or stale or staying in our ways. So I find actually getting the blood pumping each day with an activity is fundamental to allowing you to make art. So like I was saying before, getting to the gym, allowing yourself to even just walk on a treadmill while listening to an audiobook or doing some stretches, anything to keep movement in your body and understanding that you're made of flesh, you're an animal, and your body needs that movement like a dog fetching a ball to feel vigor and to bring vitality into whatever craft it is that you do. That's a big one. It's a big one for me. All right. Share a healthy habit or routine that helps you stay focused and energized. Healthy habit or routine. Oh, guys, there's already so many of those on YouTube. I've got nothing to add. All the basic things like wake up and see some sunlight to, really get yourself up mentally in the morning, waiting 60 minutes before you have your first coffee, not bringing your phone into bed if you can help it. I can't help it half the time, but I do my best. Trying to eat healthy food. You don't need to hear this from me, guys. Everyone's on their own journey at a different point, and it's really, really important to accept that we're not all at the same point in our lives. We're all trying to improve where we can and how we know we can, and not only to accept that we're on our own little journey and doing our best, but to accept others doing the same. And a lot of the time we can have less sympathy for others if they're behind us or in front of us. In our own arbitrary scale of what we think matters, but supportive people trying to get fit or eat well or go into a specific part of their career or battle imposter syndrome or have a side gig or connect with friends more or visit family. Just be supportive and care about not only yourself but about others. But you don't need a lecture from me about that. YouTube is the place to go. They all yarn about it non-stop. And the actual self-help videos on YouTube, I watch a couple every week and they are pretty helpful. From no particular person, just self-improvement. And usually it always comes back to just showing a bit of love. Sorry, coming back up here. Funny to see you seated and not painted. Yes, indeed. So I'm currently painting, for Monday morning to start, I wanted to go through a little bit of a list that I asked Chatbot GBT for about questions that'd be tough for an artist to answer, to kickstart a week and to talk with everyone about, not just artists, but anyone. So starting the week on at 9 a.m. on a Monday, being vulnerable, being exposed, getting you guys behind the scenes in my process, not just with the paintbrush, because there's more that happens behind the scenes. There's prints, there's developing content, there's editing content, there's contracts and agreements, and it's actually cool for you to see, and not just that, the self-awareness behind where I might be struggling, where I'm going to try and work on this current week, and for you guys to bring anything you've got to the table that we can talk about and work on together. Like Jean, thank you very much, Jean. It's not easy to jump into a chat room and be vulnerable like that. So I really, really appreciate you raising that point about your art. Anyway, going for runs in the redwoods puts me in a good mindset and sets my positive tone for the day. Porky, 100%. Now, I love that. I do love that. For me, my typical jog or run, I do my painting outside a lot of the time, but when it comes to jogging or running, I like to do that in a gym so I can put my audiobook in and then enter another realm just of words in the book. So that's fun for me. Let me come on down here a little bit. Do you ever paint a shirt? Do you ever paint a shirt? I get paint all over the shirt during the sessions, Frank. That happens very frequently. But this one's completely clean. Ooh, Alex. All right, we're going to answer Alex's question. Michael, that's not very constructive. Glenn's a lovely name. The only catch with Glenn is that you can spell it with one N or two N's, and so you never quite know which way it's going to fall. But I like two N's. I think it doesn't affect how it's said, but the actual name itself has more presence on paper. Anyway, this painting here is one that I'm working on for a TikTok series. So it's set to the lowest amount TikTok would let me set it to, and I'm just making it step by step, which when I say that, it's one color at a time, just like how we progress a painting normally, and it's a follow along thing. So you can get your own paints and join me, or you can sit there with a glass of wine. You can do that with the first example too, but sit there with a glass of wine and just, or tea or coffee, and jump in the driver's seat of an artist's mind. And we're going to do this even more when the glasses come in, the meta glasses, because instead of you standing there across the room from me and watching me make a painting, I'm going to click the glasses and put you in first person mode. So instead of you actually watching me from a distance and imagining your painting looking the same, you'll be able to jump in my eyes and see what I see when we're doing the painting, which I think will make a massive difference when you're trying to actually understand how blocks and shapes and colors are forming on the canvas. Anyway, Patrick Gow is not a relation. Great guy, not a relation. Okay. Yeah, cool. On to number 8, learning and growth. All right, this is going to be exciting. Not a GoPro. They're a new thing, guys. They're coming out. They are glasses that go on your face, and I can just literally, if we're streaming live on TikTok or Instagram, I can touch the glasses right here, from my understanding, and it will take it from the phone camera and put you in my eyesight. And so I can take you on a journey as we're making the painting up close, and you'll be able to see my hand actually doing the strokes from first person perspective. That's going to be really, really important when we start doing more get into the mind of an artist courses, because you'll actually be able to get inside my head and see through my eyes, which I think is going to be really, really cool. Cheers, Porky. Wow, the mustache looked great there for a moment. So I think that'll be really cool. We'll always do the standing content because it allows for conversation between me and you, which I really like. But the ability to flick from this perspective to this perspective will be absolutely game-changing in bringing you along on the journey more with me. With technology that doesn't actually sound all that confusing in practice, which is great because sometimes things can get really confusing. Anyway, what new skill or knowledge are you looking to acquire this week? What new skill or knowledge am I looking to acquire? So that's a good question, because normally I'm just shooting from the hip and I'll read books and learn everything about it, but it's not specific, and that's a problem. I need to get more specific with what I try and learn. So a new skill or knowledge piece I'd like to learn this week. I've ordered a book, which is the complete guide to materials for painting. And I need to read everything about masonite, about canvas, both linen and cotton, and about egg tempera. And if I have enough time, acrylic as well. And the reason I want to do that is because then I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for, but I am looking to find anything I might not know yet about the eggs. And one thing I recently learned from the first page I was reading, I've been getting the eggs in my hand like this, if you've watched the lives on it, and I've been popping them like this, like a little balloon, and then squeezing them out. That's not how you're supposed to do it, or it's not how the old masters did it. It's effective, but I actually lose most of my yolk. And so what you need to do is pick up the egg between 3 or 2 fingers like this, pinch it, and then cut it. And then hold the last of the sac, let all the yolk come out, and then dispose of that. Hey Lucy, how you doing? DMA's mesmerising music. They've got mesmerising music. Lucy and anyone else who's just joined, this is a little bit of a different session we're doing today. So we've started at 9 a.m. on a Monday, and on this session I wanted to have more of a, I don't want to give it a cheesy title, but like a Kickstarter Monday. So go through how we went last week, what our goals are for this week, and what our plan is for the day. So not too intense. It is just a get into the mind of an artist, get into your own vibe, and hopefully whether it's Sunday or Monday, you can take away something, or rather than taking away something, getting a little bit of a boost to kickstart you for what you're going to be doing. And if you've got anything you'd like to share, or share any feelings or challenges that you've got, and some random Kiwi can help with it, here I am. Here I am, baby. Still Sunday. Yeah. My Sunday I spent painting on the beach, and it was absolutely phenomenal. A few of us were around for that. It was just the best day. People were coming up for most of the session and asking and saying lovely things. The tide was way out, so we had the whole beach, and we finished the painting off of the boy and the dog. And a bunch of people who joined in actually messaged me saying, can I buy the painting? Can I buy the painting? I love the painting, which is funny because it's the guy's son and it's their dog. But the fun and the colour, that's how we know we got the colours where we want them to be, because people were finding so much fun. Those 2 ladies were funny. They were gutted when they heard that I had a partner and a daughter on the way. But anyway, so we got the colours right. Now that painting was taken, so that was what it was, but very, very fun. And Chuck, this isn't going to be a lesson about eggs, no, but I've been working on that paint to try and make the egg tempera buttery and dry beautifully, and I've almost got the recipe sorted. Now one thing, if you remember this, you're an absolute legend, but one thing that I was mentioning when we were doing the egg tempera the other day was I was trying to combine in, and please, this is Golden, but Golden is not the only brand that does this. They're just the one that was on sale when I went into the store. Just make sure whatever medium you buy is non-yellowing. So important, non-yellowing, because that means it'll survive the distance. If it yellows, it'll ruin the color inside your work long term. So non-yellowing, and then free reign, do whatever you want. This one here is extra heavy gel semi-gloss. So what this is going to do is make it shiny, but not too shiny. It's going to be thick, so I'll actually open it up for you, which will make it all much more clearer for you. That's the thickness of it. See how it's not dripping around at all? Really, really thick stuff. And I combine that into my egg yolk mix to thicken it up and make it more buttery, similar to oils. But I was complaining about how it was just too thick and it wasn't combining because the viscosities were just a little bit too different. Well, this one here is my usual go-to. You'll see it's not so edgy inside that. This one here is lovely to combine into the egg tempera. So that gives me that lovely buttery flavor. And this one here, buttery texture, soft gel. So it's far, far further down the ranks, but it adds the thickness to it still. Great stuff. Lucy. Yes, indeed. So there is a lovely baby girl on the way. We're at 15 weeks right now. There's another 6 months-ish to go. And then, yeah, very exciting. So there's a gender reveal on Instagram. I didn't post it on TikTok, but it's on Instagram, Lucy. So if you want to go back and find it, that's there for you. Okay, it looks like paste. Yeah, it essentially is paste. There are modeling compounds. They're usually very thick and coarse. The gels for their glosses and their things, they're usually much more fluid and smooth, and they go from a consistency of hard butter to melted butter, and so you find which one you like the most. I like soft. Soft is primo. It's exactly where you want to be. It's mixed into the egg tempera, thickens it a little bit more, and allows you to actually smooth it over the surface very, very well. Okay. Let's have a little look-see here. Is there a book, a podcast, or a course you'd like to recommend for personal or professional development? I've probably badgered on enough about this book, but one book I really like if you're a creative is Art, Money, Success by Maria Brophy. She's Drew Brophy's wife, and she's absolutely incredible. The book's really helpful. You won't love the entire thing, but there will be pockets of it. And she says this in the book, that the whole thing won't be relevant for you, but there will be pockets of it which are relevant for your craft, your career, or your personal progression. So really do recommend Maria Brophy's book, Art, Money, Success. It's a banger. Past that, podcasts. No podcasts I'm listening to right now, but we are about to do some podcasts where we're going to talk about similar stuff to what we do here. One of a guy who does stories, so he wants to do stories of paintings, and then another one called Slightly Left of Straight, which is a guy from America on his podcast. Anyway, a couple of podcasts coming up, but I haven't listened to a whole lot of them just yet, so I'll keep you posted. But yes, that book, good book. Okay, we're on to number 9. I like the look of this one. This one's called Gratitude. I haven't read these guys. This is all just off the cuff. What would you do if you're okay? He said, you're confusing, Neil. I don't quite understand what you're saying, but gratitude. Express gratitude for something or someone that positively impacted your life recently. Express gratitude for something or someone that positively impacted your life recently. I think we're going to do, cheers Chuck, I think we're going to do gratitude for someone that doesn't have a name yet. My unborn daughter. I think having a daughter on the way changes your perspective in a huge way. You go from being an individual where you're the center of your own universe to being, I think it's going to force me into adulthood because I'm really excited about having something in the world which, no matter what, will always be more important than me. And that makes me look at my whole career and the way I conduct my life and what the future holds, thinking how can I make sure the world, myself, my relationship, and everything is in the perfect conditions to make sure that unnamed individual gets to have every opportunity and every bit of love that she can possibly have. So that's certainly someone I'd provide gratitude to, because that's what a kid has done to my life, which I'm incredibly lucky to have gone through that experience. And hopefully I get to do it multiple times. Thanks, Lucy. I appreciate that. So I think I've seen it before in YouTube videos where they talk about it, where they say the best thing about having kids is it forces you into adulthood. And obviously, no matter what happens in the world, you now come second. And coming second every single time changes your perspective on the world. You don't resent it, you force it upon every situation. And that's what I look forward to. So look forward to always coming second on the important scale. Okay. Next one, encourage others to share what they're grateful for. All right, chatbot GBT, that's a good one. Guys, I've been chatting here for a while now, actually 2.5 hours. No, wait, hold on, we started at 9:30 because I was late today. So we started at 9:30, so we've gone for 2 hours. If you've been here since the start, or you've just joined in, and you feel confident or comfortable enough, I'd love to hear off the cuff some vulnerability or exposing of yourself to say what you are grateful for. It sounds so cheesy, but it catches you off guard because we do get ourselves into a mind frame of take. Not because that's what has to happen, but because when you focus on your career, you're trying to grow it, or yourself, you're trying to improve yourself. And this constant growth and improvement forces this, not permanent, but kind of a take psychology. So it's kind of nice to actually think about what is happening right now that we can be really grateful for. Anyway, one thing that I think sometimes too, things that we're grateful for is good to look at, because it's not always something that you get given. Hey, have this. And you're like, oh, thank you so much, I'm grateful. Sometimes it's things that you took for granted the whole way along, because maybe it's great in-laws, a stable relationship, a wonderful country, a beautiful place of work. These sort of things, you can take them for granted, and then when you lose them, you realize how amazing that was, and you wish you knew that at the time, so you could have loved it so much more. That's a good one, Porky. Grateful for caring far now. So that's one thing that I'm constantly, absolutely astounded by in my own life, is how great my family are and how much I love them and how much of a difference they've had on my life, both personally and in terms of my career. Family. If your family's there for you, if they're alive and they're there for you, you're incredibly lucky, and it's absolutely fantastic. And Terry, there is some Spanish-speaking people in New Zealand. There's a few. Anyway, on to the next one. If anyone else wants to say what they're grateful for going forward too, just jump in, throw it in there. Global connection. How does your cultural background influence your work and perspective? This is a good one. Hey, Lorraine, this is a good one because I think when we talk about work and perspective, I came from a farm. I was born on a farm. I was born around sheep and cattle and horses and goats and hens and dogs. And now I'm an artist. I work in a glass box. pardon me. Excuse me, guys, sorry. I work in a glass box. I paint pictures. I express feelings on a canvas. And so one thing in terms of my culture and upbringing was old school farmer psychology and ideas. I thought, especially from a young age, that I knew what it was like to be a man, and a stoic, strong identity was the manliest thing that I could do, and that's what I should reach for. But as time ticked on and as I grew up and went on my own pilgrimage through life, I started to realize that that was a perspective that I had incorrectly concluded. Actually, like I've talked about before, that when you do have moments of bravery or courage, whether it's facing something scary, there's this lump, butterflies in your chest, and this lump in your throat, and you have to overcome it. And that overcoming of that is the bravery or the courage. But that same feeling, that lump in your throat, is what you get when you confess your feelings or you show vulnerability in a social situation. It's scary and it's you feel exposed and vulnerable. Showing that vulnerability is that strength, is that courage, is that bravery. And I hadn't included that throughout my teen years and my younger years, but now that I'm older, I'm 30, I'm still a spring chicken, but I'm 30 years old, suddenly now I realize that actually the only way to be a man, I say man, but the only way to be an adult is to be vulnerable, to be exposed, to not be afraid of your feelings, to not only be okay with letting others see who you are, but being okay for you to know who you are and not judging yourself on that, not beating yourself up, but really seeing yourself and just having acceptance for the person that's in the mirror. Anyway, coming back up here. Sorry, I'm playing. Oh, fantastic. ... Get back into the studio, start painting. I love it. I love it. Steve, wonderful. Oh, that's fantastic, Steve. Me and you have a similar thing going on right now. Of course, your child's much older than mine, but that's fantastic. Agree with that. Jim, what an absolute pleasure to have you in here. And it is a privilege and an honor to have that picture hanging in your condo. I love that picture. And I really enjoyed, I remember a little brief conversation we had where I gave you a message and I said, what's your favorite song right now? And it was the Kill Bill song. And I put it over the reel that I was making and it fitted quite well. And I was like, this is interesting. It's cheeky colors. It comes together quite fast, but the thing I like about it is the Kill Bill just had this cheeky twist to it, which kind of reminded me of Jim. Not that you want to kill your ex, Jim, like in the song, but I like that reel, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, coming down here. Leon. I was someone who used to work a desk job. Well, got out and about. I was an operations manager for a restaurant franchise here in New Zealand for 6 to 8 years, long time, I forget exactly. And it got to the point where I decided that actually, if I stay here now, I'll do this for another 10 years. What do I want to do with my life? And I thought the best thing I want to do is bring more happiness and vitality into this world. And it sounds cheesy, but that's where I started. And I figured out that I could do that mainly, or the best, through visual art. That I believe you can get happiness and vitality and you can transpose it. I say happiness, I should say joy and vitality, and transpose it onto a 2D surface and share that with other people. And so when I figured that out, I've pursued art with a reckless abandon up until now. I don't believe that, I love that people become models. Fantastic. I don't believe that I can bring happiness into the world like that. I think there's enough people doing that. I think they do a great job. I haven't seen Dolce & Gabbana or Just Jeans short on models. If we run short on people, we can all put our hands up. But at the moment, I think we're short on people who are willing to actually put their hands up, speak their minds, be vulnerable, be exposed, and actually try and share happiness and vitality across the planet. Social media is a great thing, guys. We can connect via a phone, via a laptop, via an iPad, with everywhere in the world all at once. There was that movie that came out, Everywhere All at Once, and it was mind-blowing. You know what's really mind-blowing? You can touch a button on a phone and we can all connect like that. That's pretty cool. Now, I see a lot of things that may not be positive on social media, but what I do see is the opportunity for people all around the globe to connect and actually have meaningful, authentic connections and share joy and share vitality. And the most beautiful, like the fact that there's a device in our pocket that can instantly connect us with the joy and vitality of beings that exist simultaneously on the other side of the world, that's something I can get behind. I think that's meaningful. I think that's worth fighting for. I think that's worth being involved in. So, anyway, mine resold through galleries, and I never said, yeah, beautifully frank. That's definitely one thing. I think that's one way to do it, to have it in a gallery and sell it, and you never see them. For me, I love to maintain that connection. I typically find that a lot of people who purchase a painting I almost have to cut them off. Steve, you're on a stand down period. But I find that actually I feel less, every time you sell a painting or it leaves the studio, it feels like a breakup. If you actually put your heart and soul into it, it's something that leaves you a little bit empty when it leaves. And you do wonder in your own mind, was that my best one? Will I ever do another one like it? Am I about to change? You know, these questions well up in you. But when you formulate a connection with the client, I'd prefer to say person, when you formulate a connection with a person who feels the same thing you feel through your art, you get so much more than just the financial stability of selling paintings. You actually get a relationship with a person who can tell you what they feel in your art, what they like about it, and it can motivate you, drive you, and inspire you in ways that you didn't think you could go. So I mean, galleries do sound great. I love galleries. I would love to be in it. Maybe one day we'll do a gallery, who knows? But personally, that connection's been one of the biggest driving factors of the last 2 years, at least, of me getting a better understanding of myself, my own art, and actually what the collector's after if you're doing a commission. A lot of the work is commission-based, so to hear about the collector's inspiration and feelings and goals and dreams, you can, I want to say, I use the word parasitically, but you can feed off that and actually augment it or transpose it onto the commission that you make. So I've really enjoyed that. But personally, and here's a hot take, this is a naughty opinion, guys. I believe that galleries signing up a rental agreement, having lights, having all these risks that they take from opening up a gallery, I think they should take about 70% commission. They currently do around 45, usually. It used to be around 40%, but I think artists have the ability to diversify their income with art classes, wine and paint nights, with prints, but the gallery can just sell the original. So anyway, if I was going to put my work in a gallery, I'd want to see them take a far bigger slice of the pie. And then the expectation would be on me to find other alternate sources of revenue to actually keep food in my mouth, a roof over my head. Well, if you think about it in terms of, I know artists want to, it's hard to sell artwork, and when you sell it, it's very satisfying. And you make money, and when that money gets made, you want as much of it as possible. The other thing to realize is that when we had the the financial crisis back in, was it 2008, and everything crumbled to bits. All the galleries, most of them went broke, and they didn't really bounce back. The business model is very tough, and they sign up long agreements, because they have this passion in art. And I think that now, with social media, you can run classes, you can sell prints, you can do other things to market yourself as an artist, and have your work displayed in galleries. But everyone's different. The process you go through is your own. And like Maria Brophy will say, sometimes a gallery is the best way for you to show your art and to move your process forward. And other people might say, no, I actually do really well selling my wares, my art, my style at a farmer's market. Or I do well selling my stuff at one example that comes up is a waiter who worked in a yacht club who sells fishing pictures and thanks, Jay. Fishing pictures at a yacht club, and when they come in with their, they've caught a fish, they're happy, they're having a few beers or whatever they might be doing. She then sells them a picture of a marlin or a swordfish, because they're motivated and happy, and they can celebrate it with the pictures that she makes. So everyone's process is entirely different. For me, before I went on social media, my process was I had no social media. It wasn't my style. I didn't have a Facebook, I didn't have a YouTube, a TikTok, an Instagram. If you wanted a piece from me, it was word of mouth only. And so people would contact with me directly, and then I'd form a meaningful connection with the client in order to understand their needs to make a piece of artwork that was meaningful just for them. And then I went on social media, and since then it hasn't really changed. Most of the artwork we're doing here is commission-based. A few pieces aren't commission-based, but that's usually in collaboration, fun projects, which I love. But I'd like to stay true to the way I feel of creating meaningful connections with clients and then allowing that to create art. Anyway, let me scroll up here. Would you ever teach an art classes in person? Mate, absolutely. The only issue with doing it in person is that people miss out. And just like having your art in a gallery, say, where it's one part of the world, it's more inclusive to people who are watching from South Africa, people from Singapore, people in Germany, in Amsterdam, and in all the states in America. You can bring more people together and be more welcoming and inclusive if you do things online. And that's where things like live is quite cool, because although I'm not in the room with you right now, we can have a conversation and converse, and you can have answers. You can watch me react and chew over and consider and say, I don't know, or answer things live, which creates a beauty in and of itself in terms of, I think having polished answers, like in a reel where you plan out the perfect answer and then throw it, it confuses you and makes you think that everyone's always perfect. It's nice to hear someone stutter, get confused, trip over their words, lose their trail of thought, and have a really real experience. But I definitely would do I've been talking with a group about doing a summit or a couple of day retreat that people who could come and join for 3 or 4 days for basically the painting would be one part of it, but it'd be a larger wellness retreat. But that sort of stuff comes into, is it just a fad thing that you're putting out there because you're like, hey, look, this will be fun? Or is it actually, what's the intention? You've got to always lead with that intention. So at the moment, the intention on doing something like that isn't fully clear, being that we can connect and love through a digital means at the moment. But if it was going to raise money or something for a meaningful organisation to bring more good about in a certain region or in New Zealand, double thumbs up. Let's figure out how we can tee it all together. But right now that hasn't come into fruition at this stage. I hate and am terrible at marketing. Thank goodness for galleries. Well, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're happy. That's the biggest part. Hello, Seb. Beautiful colours. Thanks, Pinky. It's only about, I said 2%. 5% is probably a bit more fair. And we're going to do one colour at a time. So the last colour onto it was titanium white. Next, I reckon we're going to attack it with a whole bunch of warm colours. I'm going to go at it with vermilion, sienna. Would you count that as warm? Definitely some primary yellows and magenta. And just let all those hot, fiery colours go underneath. So as we start building out more greens and blues, there will be this temperature, heat, vitality, vigour. That's the word I'm after, inside the waves. But anyway, that's for the series. So we'll see how we go. And I think for the next series, guys, going forward, we won't actually release it hidden. I'll do it live with you guys, and then, but rather than talking the whole time through it, I'll do the series, walk you through it craft by craft, and then post it as a series. So if you're at the lives, fantastic, you get the content for free. And if you end up having to pay $1 for the series, I'm sorry, but it'll be there for you. Like I said, I've set it to $1, so it's more just to actually collate it easily there, make it easy to find. So that's the plan there. Where do you get most of your commissions from? Advice on commission contracts. Dana, visual artist. I love that. Visual artist. That's dealing with imposter syndrome 101. Put the label on it. I'm an artist. Even before you've sold a painting, what are you? You're an artist. I love that. Not that that's your case. I mean, for anyone out there who's scribbling on paper in their room late at night, everyone's so happy to put down foodie or to put down, travel bug. But to actually start on your any profile, Instagram, Facebook, Tinder, I don't care, to start with saying artist. Few of us have the confidence to do that. And whether you're at that stage or whether you're a professional, Dana, or whether you're part-time, I love it. It's right there, easy. Advice for commission contracts. I think when it comes to commissions, it's a tough one, Dana. I think everyone needs to find them in their own special zone. Some people find them via galleries, or they specialize in doing dogs or doing family portraits. And some people find them like the waiter I was talking about, been at the yacht club, and people finding them at the yacht club. For me personally, I try and find people who I can actually form a meaningful connection with to bring a project to life. And not all projects are possible. Sometimes you'll talk with someone and their idea, you sometimes say, I think this is best done with this artist. And so it's important to understand what you do really well and sometimes what other people can do really well. Because someone who's after a commission, it doesn't have to be you. Having the confidence to actually say, that's not what I can do, but let me recommend you someone who can absolutely smash that commission for you is fantastic. For example, my works aren't completely realistic, and if you wanted an exact picture, almost like a photo reproduction of something, there's probably amazing people who can do that for you. And I say probably amazing people. I know a few, I recommend them when certain commissions come through, and they do an incredible job of that sort of stuff. But each person has their own journey. So for you personally, if there's a farmer's market near you, one great way to do it is actually have previous commissions or prints or pictures you've done up in a farmer's market stall with other little goods that you may have for sale, and then actually have the commission thing there so they can take the flyer away, know the cost, know what it now looks like and how it would look and feel, and I've talked with you and formulated a connection. That's a great way to then move on to actually selling your first, second, fifth, 100th commission. That's one little thing. Anyway, Assad, favourite painting? I'll just get back to where it starts. Let me come on down here. Dun, 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 dun. Am I from Oz? No, this is New Zealand. This is New Zealand, but it's Auckland. Do, 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 do. Oh, Hershey. Finger painting's fantastic. Actually, I was doing some of that the day before yesterday. I was getting like big wads of paint in my hand and throwing it at a canvas. Incredibly satisfying. It is 10 to 12 right now. So we're in the heart of it. And it's to make things, yes. So Dana, one thing to do, especially with the commission, is be very, very clear. A lot of people buying a commission, it can be their first time buying a commission, and it's as scary for them as it is for you. And a lot of the time as the artist, we get terrified and think that the person ordering the commission is doing this all the time, or that they know what they want, and we get so much anxiety and fear around that. But having the ability to actually realize they're terrified, sometimes they're not fully sure what they want, but they're inspired, and you're terrified, you're not sure if you can deliver it, but you are creative and you want to. This is a beautiful partnership. This is like a early teenage relationship. You've got a new collector with a new artist, and you've both got an idea that inspires you both. This is beautiful. But having transparency in terms of, especially around things like cost, and we're not going to get into pricing things out at the moment, but cost is one of the things that can be very tough. And just a quick note on that, one thing I was doing when I first started painting was I was getting the cost of the artwork, I was judging it and figuring it out by charging myself out at minimum wage and then adding the materials. And that was the cost of the painting. And so the fact that the person was taking a leap of faith on me, for me to make the painting, I would, thank you so much. And in terms of my hours, I would just start by charging the hours that I would, and only while I was painting. I wouldn't charge the setup, the pack down, or the delivery, or the framing, only the actual painting, and then the supplies. And that would allow me to feel good when I was originally selling paintings when I was younger, to say that I'm not ripping anyone off, I'm not judging too much, I'm not overvaluing any paintings, I'm just valuing my own time that I'm putting into this, and then passing on material costs. And then after doing that through 20 or so commissions, you'll start to build your confidence and think, actually, I'm not minimum wage anymore. I'm going to start charging $30 an hour. I'm worth what a plumber's worth. I'm going to charge, or an apprentice is worth. I'm going to charge $35, $40. And then you might get to the stage where you start saying, I'm charging $200 an hour like an architect, because I've done this so many times. There's a track record of success, or a track record of proven happy people who've ordered commissions off me. This is now the rate. And that's okay to do that. But if you are starting, saying you're going to charge minimum and then adding materials on cost is a very safe place. So that was my safe place that I originally started in. I've been an artist my entire life. No imposter here. But you think it's best to just be my name? Oh, look, Dana, everyone's different. Everyone's different. Some people use their names. Some people get wildly successful or much happier using a business name. I've got a very close friend who doesn't use his name. He uses a Chinese translation of his name, and he's much happier with that because it feels like it's the brand rather than him. But you're on your own journey, and no one can give you the answer to that. It's what, upon self-reflection, feels most right for you. I love asking, yes, yeah, I love that, Montana, and I'm the exact same. So I've got a commission right now that I've asked for off one of my friends I went to university with, and it's been 4 or 5 months, but that's not what's relevant here. He's putting love into it, and he's going through his own process to make it, and I really, really, really want his artwork in my house. That's what I want. And so he's going through his own process to make it. One day I'll have it. I'm really excited. But if you are someone who does have The means to purchase artwork, and you've got friends who paint, it can be very, very cool for Christmas gifts or, for other people to actually approach your friend that's an artist or approach an artist and purchase a commission for another person. Buying people art is incredibly satisfying, especially if you know the person will love it and you feel a connection with the artist to understand the way they think. It can be interesting. And shoes. I'm wearing op shop shoes. Not that it's all that relevant, but lovely chocolate brown shoes from an op shop. They cost me about $20. They've got paint all over them and I love them to bits. Favorite thing to do in my free time? Pack. We're doing it pretty much right now. I like to watch some YouTube videos on how to paint to see if there's anything that I don't know right now. I like to read books. Actually, speaking of reading books, this is a good book. I should have said this earlier. I didn't realize the book was actually right here within arm's reach. The Painter's Handbook. Now, this is another book. I say the Art Money Success book's about the business side of making paintings. This one here is about the mechanical craft side. So I flick to a random page. Let's have a little look-see here. Find an interesting page to look at. Here we go. Pigments. So if we look at pigments, it's going to write down all sorts of stuff. Different absorption rates, different effects that different things can have, acrylic dispersion, melting points, things that you wouldn't even think you need to know, all in this book. And one thing it gives me, I'll find the egg tempera pages. This is where here we go. Old school pictures, see there, about making egg tempera. This is the passing the egg from hand to hand, like you've seen me do. And this here is the rolling it in a towel or a serviette to actually get rid of all the whites. And then there's the pinch, the old master's pinch that I wasn't doing. So lots in these books that can be really, really helpful. And they cover everything. So not just for what you're after. You're an acrylic artist, cool. Read about the oils, read about watercolors, understand everything to do with every medium to better understand what you do in isolation. Great book. The Painter's Handbook. Cost me like $50 off the Nile or some bookstore online. Do you think governments seem to view art and culture as such a low value sector? Interesting. History shows arts and culture as one of the most important pillars of humanity. Okay, great question. Let's talk about that, Kay. And Steve, yes, good question. So, in terms of arts and culture, one thing that is correlated to, not causally connected, but correlated to an advanced society. So a society that's progressed beyond being barbarians or being, state of nature and going into stages of showing advanced civilization. What starts to proliferate and exist is arts and culture. Now, we could say, people did all the hard jobs and now we've got nothing left to do, so art's this non-essential thing that we've suddenly started doing since we lack the ability to build or create things. We're now just going to waste our time doing this and wonder why we're here. That's probably one way to look at it. The way I would say is that actually arts, it's fundamental. Now, when crisis hits and we do need to, volcanoes erupt, tidal waves strike, art's less relevant. There's a utility of survival that comes into play. But if survival is guaranteed and we're alive, there's an amazing importance that comes in with art. The fact that people have been doing it in caves in Turkey tens of thousands of years ago, creating pictures when they were running away from, I'm not sure, but saber-toothed tigers and capturing mammoths and foraging for berries. They saw the relevance to make art on cave painting walls, not as a gallery, not as something to be preserved. Even though it did get preserved, they did it in a cave. No one was supposed to see it long term, but they did it. And what that shows you is that actually it's less about the preserving of art and preserving of art or actually owning or selling art. This is not a vital part of society. What is a vital part of society is creating art and valuing art. That's the key. And as we've seen through all of human history, the creation of art has been associated with societies that head towards civilizations. So, whether you have art all through your home or not, valuing art and actually even making your own art. Imagine a society that didn't sing. Oh, that's a good one actually. Think about that. Imagine a society that didn't sing. Imagine a society that didn't dance. Where is that going to go? Or would you even want to be a part of it? It sounds... ugh. I think in the same way, imagine a society that didn't have art. There's so much beauty in places like in the East with the work that comes out of China, the work with ink and things like this. It's so beautiful and so carefully made. And then you look at pieces in Africa, their wonderful use of bold, strong colours built into their culture. Oh, it's just beautiful. The Renaissance period with the way they developed oil paints and started doing immensely intense detail and had incredible perspective in their works. Oh, it's phenomenal. But art's important. Art's important. Don't think of it from a cultural point of view though. When you look at society, it can get a little bit confusing. It's correlated. It's less clear. If you look at it in the form of yourself, imagine yourself without singing, dancing, or visual art. You wouldn't like what you see. So get involved in that. Coming on down here, thanks. I'm having a lot to do and naming great advice for icebreakers in live stream. All right. Your name's a great icebreaker in live streams, then keep it. I love that. Coming on down here, have something about pink sunglasses in this book. No. Let's have a look-see here. Coming down to the bottom, perfect. I'm up to date. The weather's all good. It's pretty standard. Big blue skies. You can see it behind me there. And in terms of the... oh, there was one other thing that I completely missed. It's up here. Sunglasses. That's not in a book. No one talks about that. That's just my own little weird method. Most artists will look at a picture and think, okay, to adjust this, I'll change the way I paint. Use less of this color, more of this color, this, blah, 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 blah. For me, I'll think, what if I just keep painting the way I feel and like to make it? I chuck on the pink glasses, they turn the whole picture to pink. I think, perfect, there's enough pink. I start prioritizing yellows and blues. So when I take off the glasses, there's an even balance. And that saves me having to skew my own instinctual way of painting, but it creates a painting that's visually appealing in a direction that my instincts may not have wanted to go. Do you speak like this at a dinner table, Bray? Chop and I change. I've got a regular laugh, and then when a joke's really, really funny, it goes quite high pitched, which can be embarrassing. And then I think I've got a softer voice that I speak to kids with. But no, this is just how I normally speak. Oh, if I'm trying to seem tougher, I'll drop it even lower. Like, just down a little bit deeper, so people think I'm really tough. But usually, no. This is about the mark that I'm always speaking in, right there. That's the tonal range. Anyway, HH, what is your favorite piece I've ever painted? Favorite piece I've ever painted. We're not going to do favorite piece I've ever painted. It's too hard. There's too many pieces out there in the big old wide world of everything that could possibly exist. There's two pieces this year that are standout that I want to talk about, and they're both revolved around ocean and surfing, which is not because they're the best pieces that have ever been done, but because ocean and surfing for some reason has resonated in 2023. I think it's because my partner is a surfer, and since she's a surfer, that's probably fed into that a little bit. The oceans have lent very, very well into my painting style, so I've been addicted to them from a craft perspective. And these two projects are both very unique in terms of the surface that was painted and what was painted. So the first one would be Mahalo, And the reason Mahalo makes it, again, it's the ocean. It's a beautiful picture full of movement, vitality, and just thrill and zest for life, which is everything I ever want to capture in a painting. So that Mahalo picture was definitely, when we talk about leading with intention, its theme and what underlied that picture was everything I look to do. So Mahalo is beautiful in that sense. And then as an interesting exotic project, the other one would be hibiscus. So hibiscus is the painting of the surfboard, the big giant pink flower. And that was absolutely phenomenal because that big giant pink flower with its multiple layers, with where it traveled around the world, with the fact that it's surfy. The flower is a flower, but it seems like it's water, it's the ocean, has the same texture of Mahalo, but in this giant, vibrant, pink hibiscus flower. It's a beautiful picture. The board's unique. The story is crazy and interwoven and exotic, and it travels before it reached New Zealand. And the fact that it's a surfboard, not a regular canvas, it's so unique and exotic and different and special. Big fan. So those are the two standout projects of 2023, but every project has its own individuality, unique element to it. The homes that they've ended up in, the lives that they've touched, and the reasons for them coming into existence it's really, really special for me. So those two are standout, but they're not top, if that makes sense. Okay, how old were you when I did my first painting? I'd love to know what my first painting was. I don't think it exists. I was, as a young tacker, and that's what we say in New Zealand for a young kid, I was creative in all the ways. I loved Lego. I had tons of Lego. I used to make all sorts of giant creations and be really excited about it. My parents were lovely. They would get excited about the thing that I was making too. And then you'd have things like the clay. You'd have one thing they'd make for me all the time, and lovely mother would always do this for me. We'd get Play-Doh and add food colouring into it. So just water, flour, and food colouring, and I'd play with this Play-Doh and make all sorts of shapes and use my hands. And I always used to love the 3D element, especially when I was younger. And so that came out more in high school, and I actually went to university on a scholarship for sculpture, not painting. I always painted, but a scholarship. I don't do a lot of sculpture now. I'm mainly a painter, but a deep love for that which is tactile and 3D and can be touched, seen and felt. It's really, really fun like that. And what's up with the Vegemite? Oh, Paul, it's pretty rough. It's Movember here, Paul. So this isn't raising money for Movember, but it's raising awareness. Everyone in New Zealand does it when they when the first Movember comes around. Everyone shaves and then grows facial hair for the entirety of Movember. And if you can grow a mustache, unlike me, you'll use it to raise funds for Movember. My plan is to grow the mustache to raise awareness, but actually spend the month building out an auction feature on the website and hopefully selling a painting out there into the world to raise money for the Movember charity, which is specifically about prostate cancer, mental health awareness, and suicide awareness. So as an artist, when we talk about expressions and feelings, these things are very, very close to my heart. And I feel like as someone who does sell expression, has a responsibility to do what I can to tackle it and have a meaningful impact on it. Coming on down, favourite part of New Zealand for holiday. Pack. If you're in New Zealand, the whole of New Zealand is fantastic. If you've travelled here, try and spend longer here. 20 days is a great amount. If you're after scenery, New Zealand is phenomenal. The South Island is phenomenal. Beautiful scenery. And if you're after more New Zealand culture and cities and things like that, coffee culture, busy beaches and things, that's the North Island. But if you're after that wild, crazy, untouched New Zealand landscape that you see on the posters, in the movies, in the Instagram posts, you want the South Island. And Queenstown is probably the greatest mixture of both. It's like an amazing, untouched, different world in it's a city pocketed in this untamed landscape. So Queenstown for a mixture of both, South Island for the landscapes and the beauty down there, and the North Island for more people and culture. Does Mum have any of my early art? Look, Steve, I can, next time I'm at the parents' house, I can try and dig out some boxes, see if I can find some, and then actually figure out the age I was when I made it. But I wouldn't look into this sort of artwork thinking, let's look for the signs of an artist in these pictures. You won't find that. You'll see signs of good craft, maybe, but that's not a sign of an artist. The sign of an artist comes from not the pictures that get created from a child, but the child's enthusiasm to do it. Is the child using up energy and making pictures because the adults want to see pictures? Or everyone's having to do an art class? Or does the child get the option of a soccer ball, a football, a rugby ball, a golf club, a bunch of friends playing with a tennis ball, a book, a video game, and a paintbrush? And does the child opt for the paintbrush thinking that in its world right now, the best way for it to have fun and fulfillment and satisfaction is with art? And if that's the case, that's what you want to look for in that child, and less what they're creating. Trust me, no matter what stage of life you're in, typically the craft element is the easiest thing to get. That innate passion and desire to create and love, and more importantly, that vitality that you get from it, like you don't drain yourself, you get more energy from doing it. That's the reason to paint. That's the reason to paint. Or to support a child who wants to paint. And I say paint, think of clay, paint, photography. All these things are all mediums in their own right. Digital art. So you got to figure out where your child, what your child loves about certain mediums or activities, and then see if you can put other activities around them that you think might be associated with or better used to propel them in what they want to be doing. And if they pick those up and run with them, that's the responsibility of a parent. Gabriel, suggest a song to brighten your day. Okay, Truly Madly Deeply by Savage Garden. If you haven't heard it, then A Little World of Our Own by Westlife. And the reason I've chosen those two songs is if you want your day to be brightened, sometimes an old school love song to remind you of when you were a preteen and believed in true love might be exactly what you need to pick you up for the day. Because true love does exist and you do deserve it. But sometimes an old school song reminds you of that. So there you go. 10 years ago, I was there for 23 days. Hershey, that's a good amount of time to be in New Zealand for. That's, as a traveller, I would say 23 days. If you weren't going to stay here permanently, 23 days would be the minimum. You hit the nail on the head. Māori culture in Rotorua. Rotorua is massive for that, and it's also got the most geothermal activity of almost any location in the world. So Rotorua is amazing in that sense. I think the two top ones is Rotorua and Yellowstone in America. Yellowstone has giant geysers that are constantly blowing, but Rotorua has so many little mud pools everywhere. Coming on down. Adam, I prefer oil painting over water painting, but it's a three-way tie between gouache, oil, and acrylics, and tempera. So in terms of water painting though, I typically don't do it. And the reason I avoid water painting is because with the medium, you go from light to dark. But I like to not have to be controlled by a certain process of craft. I like with acrylics and oils and other forms of paint, you can keep going from dark blue to light green to dark red to light orange. And you can just jump around like an absolute madman as you're creating your painting. But with watercolor, you have to have more of a plan in place and follow that plan. And I see that from my particular style as a limitation. But for some people, it's exactly what they need because it provides structure to help you build through a piece of artwork. So that's not me saying watercolors are bad. That's me saying as an individual, watercolors don't work for me. They might be exactly what you need to further your craft. And that's for you to decide. Coming on down, what Australian accent do you have? It's a New Zealand accent. But New Zealanders and Australians, for the rest of the world, We sound the same. To Kiwis, this is a funny one actually, you'll like this. To Kiwis, I sound like an American. And they say, are you from America? And the Americans are like, no, you sound crazy. You sound like a Kiwi or an Australian through and through. But Kiwis hear a little bit of American in my voice. Americans think I'm from way down under. That's, yeah, wild accents. Will you be painting a mural for the nursery? Ricky, that's an interesting one. I may do. I'll probably hang pictures up in the nursery, but depending on the paint I use, I want to make sure it's had time to dry and off gas before the child ends up in the nursery, so there's no fumes, no nothing. And so I'll probably opt to get some really positive big pictures and put them in there. Lightweight, on the walls, to create a vibe in the space. Blue butterfly, I am answering questions right now, as long as they're constructive and helpful. I think it's a fair way to put it. All right, coming on down. Thanks, Birdie. You're a champion. Okay, I'm back down at the perfect. I'm back down at the beginning. Right. Did we finish off the entire list there, guys? We're working our way down through a list. I actually lied to you. I said there were 8 things. There were definitely 12. And we did gratitude, global connection. We did that one. Oh, here we go. We stopped on global connection. So we've still got 3 more to go. We're on 10, halfway through 10. We've got 11 and we've got 12. Okay. So 10, share a positive aspect of your local community or culture. I think New Zealanders, and we get this probably because we're an island nation in the middle of nowhere, we are incredibly welcoming for the most part and very, very kind. And although we sound like robots with our accents, we are very, very lucky to have a huge amount of nature where we live. So our island, although it doesn't have as much nature as it had on it 1,000 years ago, say, there's an amazing amount that actually there's a synergistic, that's not the word I'm looking for, a combination. We exist alongside nature a lot in New Zealand, and we're really big about that. So I enjoy the fact that right next to my house is an amazing beach, and then 40 minutes from my house I can reach so many different walks through the bushes, through the trees, through native bush. It's just incredible in that sense. So, and we've got great coffee. I like good coffee, guys. When I go to America, I love America so much. It's one of my favorite places on planet Earth, American national parks. But I do find that one thing I miss when I come back to New Zealand is a really good espresso coffee. Just power straight to the teeth. Anyway, coming back out here. Taylor, well, being a father, change your eye for future painting pieces. No, it won't as such. It will, well, actually, I don't know. We can talk about that and see as we progress. Right now it has not, but it has filled me with immense gratitude and an awareness that for the rest of my life, I'm going to come second on my own priority scale of what's important, being that your child is going to come first in every instance. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes the way I think about artistic careers. But in terms of the art style itself, it's a very personal thing that comes out from within you. And until the baby uniquely changes me as a person, the art style won't change at this stage. Here we go. Sandy's amount of paintings every year. So every year I'll churn out, it chops and it changes. Let's say I do a painting every 10 to 14 days is a good metric. So we're probably lining up 40 paintings a year, but there's a mixture there. There's a mixture of paintings that I make for me. There's a mixture of paintings that get sold as commissions. There's a mixture of paintings that are done as collaborations. And any given year can be slightly different of where these paintings land. But about one every 1.5 weeks is the perfect amount to allow yourself to prioritize these paintings, give value to them, and actually, when I say give value to them, I mean personally. are you just tuning paintings out left, right, and center that they are, I don't want to say meaningless, but less meaningful to you as a person at that point in your life? Or are you giving it a chance to breathe and exist? And if you do that, it can have a bigger impact on you personally. Yeah. Anyway. Sorry, let me just scroll on down here. Hell's Gate. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. But we've got a couple of projects on the go to smash out right now. There's this one and a couple of commissions that haven't been confirmed. But once they are confirmed, I'll let you guys know. And another painting, another dance picture. So we had that Project Dancer. We've got another one coming up, which is going to be an old school version. It's going to be with a vinyl player, with a with a pin that goes on the thing. So that one's coming up, which I'm really, really excited about. But we're going to put it forward to the Art of Painting in that channel with a poll to see what people want to see as the second one. Now that we've done the first one, solo, modern, masculine dancer, what do we feel like seeing next? What's going to be the thing that really drives a bit of feeling? I don't know how to make art that actually means something, to be honest. Hayden, great question. Great question. How to make art that actually means something. Before you ask that question from your artwork, can you do me a favor and ask it for yourself? I used to paint when I was younger and I had no direction. And so my paintings took the form of what I thought I needed to make other people happy. And so I became this people pleaser with the artwork, and the artwork lacked flavor, feeling, and identity because of it. When I came back to art later in life and I started to view it as something that I could do for me to express myself and something that I wanted to do to bring more happiness and joy and vitality to the world, suddenly that purpose became the driving factor and the fundamental cause or reason for every painting to exist. And once I had that drove purpose into my painting. But for you personally, I don't know about your specific journey, but if I was to encourage anything, and thanks Porky, Meanispit, if I was to encourage anything for you personally, I would say find purpose in your own life and who you are and who you want to be and what matters deeply to you. Rather than thinking, what's my big dream? Think of what I'd like to say as a different way of looking at it is think of something that you wouldn't compromise on. That has to be the case before you die. What is something really meaningful that you will not leave this earth, this reality, before you've done? For me, it was creating real, authentic, wild, crazy, primal art and sharing it with the world, bringing out more joy and vitality in the world through that art. If it was possible, I'd love to do that. So that's the journey I went on. It doesn't have to be your journey. Your one can be unique and different and special. And it takes some soul searching, but find that thing that brings you joy in life, that thing that you won't compromise on. And then once you find it, target it, and charge at it, the art gets meaning. Okay, coming back up a little bit here. Ooh, and I'll tell you what, I gave a little reveal of it before. I'll do another quick reveal, but I'm supposed to post it. It's actually a collaboration with JBL, who create sound systems and things like that. So they were so nice. They wanted to do a project together. And they said, look, we'll send you a speaker. Can you do a reel about dancing? And I thought, well, first off, everything I do is about dance. Like normally we get people come all the time and offer different things. Like I got offered a bike the other day, and I thought they wanted me to advertise bikes on the channel here, and I was like, I can't advertise a bike, guys. Like my knees don't like riding bikes all that much, so we don't do that sort of stuff. But it was funny. These guys were like, can we send you an outdoor speaker? And you guys just have it in the reel on the ground and like make a picture. And I said, first off, I need an outdoor speaker. This works perfectly. We set up Project Dancer. I got the speaker. It played like 4 hours of 80s pop, 3 to 4 hours while we made this picture. on the beach. We had someone taking film and things. Shelby lost her whole day to it because she was holding the camera. And anyway, this is the thing. Okay, this is Project Dancer. So there's the outfit we were wearing. There's the picture we came up with. It's a solo, modern, masculine male dancer. So I went for a contemporary position. He's mid-swing, and you can see in my left hand there's the giant boombox, which was very, very invasive on the beach. But anyway, love the picture, and by the end of it, I wanted to get even more movement. So I started grabbing like hunks of paint and just throwing it and cascading giant movements all over the canvas. Anyway, really, really fun project. After this live, I have to go on, edit the footage and post some stuff of it, but there's a little sneak peek before it actually happens. Let me have a little look-see up here. How do you determine the prices on paintings? And a 2024 prediction. 2024 prediction. I've got no predictions, but I have a lot of intentions. I want to be a great dad. I want to make a lot of paintings. I want to bring a lot of happiness to the world. But this is just me with my intentions. I've got no predictions. Coming back into here, Sandy's determining the price of paintings. We talked about this earlier, but I'll come back to it one last time. In terms of determining the price of paintings, if you're starting out, I recommend, there's a million ways to do it. I recommend charging yourself out for the hours you paint the canvas, and only when you're painting it, not set up and pack down costs and things like that. While you're painting it at minimum wage. So if it takes 4 hours of minimum wage, plus materials, the canvas, the brush, the paint, whatever. And then you can pass that on knowing that that's the minimum you could charge for before you're actually losing money on a job for a commission or an original piece. And if you charge that much, that gives you great confidence as an artist to say, this is how much I believe I'm worth. Because any less than that, and you cannot employ someone in this country. Like, this is the minimum. And if you start there, it sounds, some people say to me, that sounds degrading. Well, that's where I started. That's where I thought I'd feel the most confidence, because I'd send off almost like an invoice with it broken down line by line. This is the cost of the canvas. This is how much paint was used. This is how much hours I spent. And I felt immense confidence charging rather than awkwardly thinking, I hope they pay for it. And then as time went on, you can move your hourly rate up to 35, 50, 55, 70. And you'd be like, oh, you shouldn't put price tags like that on art. But when you're starting out, having that confidence to battle with imposter syndrome, having that confidence to feel like you're being fair on not only them, but yourself, that's a good way to do it. And it's a good mechanism that really helped me. But apart from that, like I say, you're on your own journey. Hayden, I've just gotten over being a people pleaser this year. I've started making art I actually enjoy. You know what, Hayden? You may find that when you start doing artwork like that, that you actually enjoy, you may start doing things that are more authentically you. And when you start actually shedding the shell of everything that you put around yourself to try and please other people, suddenly you find that people actually really like the real you, and you wonder why you hadn't been doing it all along. But that's exactly your responsibility as an artist, to battle with the insecurities and the feeling of being exposed and the vulnerability. And if you can just do that and put it on a canvas and allow other people to see you through the art, which is just, I can remember when I was first doing it, just absolutely terrifying. If you can allow it to happen and take the love with the hate or whatever may come your way, you'll find you'll have more of an impact through your art than ever before. All right, coming on down. Hayden, yes, typically though, my structure of pricing stuff comes from, if you price your painting too low, people won't buy it. I don't know if I buy into that, Hayden. I think if you're making art and you're making it from the heart, people will see it. And if they can afford it, they'll need it in their home, because art does bring something into your home. Like a coffee machine gives you coffee, which gives you caffeine, which boosts your day. Or you paint your walls whatever color you paint them to improve the feng shui of your house. In the same way, you need art to vitalize and bring joy to your life. And so if you can afford it, people want art. And if it's cheaper, that's fantastic. If you can do art for $5 a piece, please do it. Don't charge $50,000. Because as an artist, you've also got a responsibility to put that joy and vitality out there in the world, not just gatekeep on it. So, but it depends. Every artist is different, like I say. Okay. Do you take a retainer for a contracted painting? Yes, indeed. So I do take a retainer. I do 50%, 50%. So 50% upon starting to buy canvases, to make canvases, to start the painting, to have paint brushes, whatever. And then 50% prior to shipping. So that covers the shipping cost. It's all paid for. And then typically when they pay that last 50%, be ready to give them a tracking number, which is the security to them, so that they know the painting's actually on the way. And it's some of the time when you're starting out too, if you haven't done many projects, for me now, I've done a lot. So there's a whole armada of people and evidence that actually I'm not just going to disappear. When you pay for a project, you're going to get it. So that's different from your first commission. So if you can't get a deposit on your first commission, maybe your first commission shouldn't be a wild job getting sent to Japan or South Africa. Wait till later in the piece where those people are willing to pay a deposit because you have a reputation. But straight off the bat, try and find someone locally. Go to a farmer's market, family, friends. Great places to start. And like I say, that pricing structure will give you immense confidence, especially with charging family for artwork. When you think, oh, just have it, I can't charge you. To actually say, no, just cover cost and it's yours. I find that nice. Anyway, coming on down. My name is Jeff. How much would you make per year? Okay, that's fairly personal, but in terms of making money, as an artist, like I talk about, leading with intention is fairly important. And if you're going to become an artist, please don't do it for the money, because what's going to happen is a question's going to come up, whether it's sooner or later, you're going to be asked by the world whether you value being an artist or whether you want money. And they call it selling out or blah, 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 but actually you will have to make uncomfortable choices that will put your financial situation in jeopardy in order to ensure that actually you are producing joy and happiness, in my case, out into the world. And if your artwork has a particular intention, make sure that you start with that intention and don't let anything change it. If you let yourself get a little bit of fame and then become someone new, it's risky. It's risky. Don't let art do that to you. Start with the intention you want to start with, and then please don't ever let it go. If you started the journey to bring awareness to mental health, if you started the journey to bring out more joy and vitality in the planet, if you started the journey to bring awareness to portraits of a culture or a people and things like this, please run with that. Please go the whole way and don't let the world change you, unless it's for the better. But yeah, so anyway, that's where I started originally. I was told to lead with intention, and one of the things we do here, it's not necessary, guys, but since I talk about bringing out good in things in New Zealand, so far this year, it's been incredible, absolutely incredible. We've had about 5 figures, I forget exactly, donated to a variety of local charities. We've looked after Youthline, we've looked after, what was the other one? Period Place, we've looked after, there's another one in there, I forget what it was, but we've had mainly this year the focus has been on Youthline, which helps mental health for youth here in New Zealand. But I typically follow a rule that I read in a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's an arbitrary rule, but it's what I follow, is there's split your income into 3. A third of it gets reinvested, so reinvest that in your artistic practice. Upgrade brushes, canvases, everything. Upgrade things. Help yourself build your career and your artist style. And then a third of it goes to charity. A third of it goes to you. Keep a third of it. Keep a third of the profit to make your partner happy, make you happy. Go on a trip somewhere. Go, I don't know, buy a fishing rod, go fishing, that sort of stuff. And then a third of it donate to charity. And the example I come up with is a lot of the time we think, oh, I can't donate to charity. I don't have enough money. I don't want to do that. I've only got $100 in my bank account. I can't donate $1 of that. Rich people should donate to charities, not me. You're like, cool. So say you were 1,000 times as rich. 1,000 times as rich. How much do you expect someone 1,000 times richer than you to donate? And you'd say, oh, hundreds of thousands of dollars. They could do that. It wouldn't matter at all. Yeah, okay. If they're 1,000 times richer, then they'd be donating the equivalent of you if they donated, say, $1,000, if that was required of them. They'd be donating the same as you donating $1. And so the key thing I'd say as a takeaway is don't think I'm going to get successful as an artist and then I'll start giving back, or successful in my creative career and then I'll start looking out for people. You've got to lead with the intentions of what you want to do from the start. And so from the start means if the plan is to give away or you look after charities or look after initiatives that are meaningful to you, start by giving away the third straight away and build that into it. Not when you're successful, because trust me, if you can't find $1 now, you're not going to find 10 or 100 or $1,000 later on. It's a psychological thing. It's a matter of a worldview more than it is a matter of financials. And even if it's just 10 cents, still meaningful, still really meaningful. Anyway, we had a fun game actually. I used to play it with my partner. You know how we do, I have a swear jar where you put $1 in the swear jar if you swear. I was doing that, but you donate $1 to charity. So for me, it was really funny because you could buy, it's funny, but it was also helpful. You could buy, I think it was a chicken for $10 through World Vision. And this is when I was younger. You would basically, every time the swear jar got $10 in it, you'd buy the chicken. And so instead of getting a tip jar that built up to pay money to a restaurant, say, for a night out, you'd build the money up and then you'd spend it on a meaningful charity. And so even though you were swearing, each swear word was actually a donation, which, I like that. I think that's really funny. I sponsored a chicken. Yeah. I sponsored World Vision getting a chicken for a family. I swore a lot more, so I bought like maybe 12 chickens, but the point is, anyway, coming back to I'll ask you questions. Let me bring this back up in here. But how do you determine the total cost of a painting to know what the 50% retainer is? Sandy's. I like the question, but we talked about this. Minimum wage plus materials when you're starting out. And then as you get more confidence and a track record, increase the wage to be 30, 50, 200, whatever you think it should be to value your work. And typically look at other careers and jobs around the place. If a plumber's charging $80 an hour to do plumbing and they've got 2 years or 3 years experience, after you've been painting for 2 or 3 years, maybe you can match that plumber and that's a great rate. An architect with a proven track record may charge $200, $250. If you feel like you're at the same level of expertise and track record as the architect, I would charge the same as that until you get confidence to change it to a different pricing structure that matches what you do accordingly. That's one very simple way to go around it. It's not the only way. It's just it's a way that I found to do it to address things like imposter syndrome for me in my early days. So you'll have your own way. Please pursue that. But there's just a little hint that helped me. Okay, coming on down. Riance, can you please talk about your painting education? Of course I can. But do remember, a lot of this is on the web page. So if you go to the About Me page on my website, there's a full yarn about the whole thing. So I'll just breeze over it here for those who've already heard it before. So first off, I did a lot of private tutoring through primary school and high school. In my late high school years, I was all art subjects, sculpture, painting, design, all these sort of things. This is just what I lived for. It's everything I did. I went to fine art school in Wellington, And I actually ended up finishing a degree in philosophy and art history, which was one of the things that I attribute to my success and actually making this into a career was I was able to ask myself and answer, why are you doing this? And eventually the point comes where you stand in front of a white canvas and stare at it and break a little bit, as you don't know why you're here, or if what you're going to make is worth doing, or if you're just wasting your time and everyone who's not currently in the room is just laughing at you. And to be able to say, why are you here? Why are you trying to paint this? What are you doing? To be able to philosophically ask yourself that and answer it in order to pursue a journey, that's very, very compelling. And for me, the answer was, I believe there's something in this. I believe you can transpose some kind of feeling onto a canvas. I believe that through 2D surfaces and rudimentary tools like paintbrushes and liquid paint, I can create something that can make other people happier and feel more vitality in their lives. And if I believe that's true, not only does it make me want to do it, I have a responsibility to do it. And that was my philosophical reasoning. That encourages me in front of canvases and makes me paint. So you'll have your own questions, but for me personally, that was the existential crisis I had, and philosophy and art history helped me through it. Coming on down, Sandy's 10%. All right, Bible says it. I say 30%, but I'm pretty extreme, guys. And Kloiber, good start. Let me come on down here. Here we go. Rick, I absolutely love that. You absolute champion. That is a really cool tradition. It's funny you say that because I have the same tradition with my partner, Shelby. I asked her when we were first originally dating, I said, what do you want? Not for a birthday, but like, what are you after, blah, blah. And she says, I sort of have everything I want. I don't really want anything, Sure, fancy surfboard, fancy car, cool glasses, but like, these are just things you hope for, but not things you actually need. And so when it came down to actually buying her a present, I was like, right, well, she was passionate about Period Place at the time, which deals with period poverty here in New Zealand and overseas. And I thought, well, I'll donate $100 or $200 to them. And then give her the certificate they give back with a receipt as the gift. And that's really meaningful, and it was special for her. But I love that other people, like yourselves and your family, have stumbled across a similar thing to actually make people happy. And turn Christmas from being a day of consumerism and taking into a day of wholesomeness and giving. So Rick, you're an absolute legend. Angle camera makes him look weird. Sorry, Christopher. Maybe I just look weird normally. In fact, I released a reel earlier in the piece where I was painting a cyclist. People think I look like a dwarf, so maybe I'm just weird. But that's okay. We're here for the conversation, not if I look funny. How long are you painting professionally? I'm painting professionally. See, that's chopping and changing. When you say professionally, it makes it sound like you incorporate yourself like a plumber. I've been painting full time for 2.5 years, 2 years. So first off, when I left university, I actually moved into doing that role I was talking about as an operations manager. And I spent a lot of my time doing that. It was full-time, non-stop for a restaurant franchise here in New Zealand. I felt myself crumbling away. I felt myself losing touch with myself as an individual. And I started to think that actually the younger version of me wouldn't be proud, like respectful, but not proud of the person that I was becoming. And I thought I need more expression, more vitality and joy in my own life. How am I gonna do that? And I did that by re-involving painting, something I'd always loved, but had somewhat put on the back burner a wee bit. I'd done it privately here and there, but nothing, or projects here and there, but nothing intensively, sacred, daily. This is what I do. And this was before social media. I used to I made painting sacred. I started doing it daily. I started finding time for it and using it to vitalize myself and make myself feel more human. And then after doing that for a while, I started to finally understand myself better, I did feel more human. And then, where was I going with that? Lost my trail of thought. Oh, that's right. As I started taking, people started to hear that I was painting again, or was painting, and I started taking commissions and trying to buy the artwork. But at that stage, it didn't exist on social media at all. You had to get it through word of mouth. So you had to know me or know someone, and it sort of blossomed from there. And then I turned on a live stream to connect with family, and I had it on public, and everyone joined in. And now, and that was terrifying too, because it went from me talking with one client and trying to sell a picture while I was working another job, and doing that, to the whole world seeing me and me being quite exposed and vulnerable and trying to grapple with that and become more, maintain who you are as a human and stay authentic. And I was very lucky that I had some great role models who really taught me to lead with intention when I did go on social media, because social media is a place that can really change you. It can make you into something completely different. And you can start changing not only your art, but yourself to become what you think everyone else wants you to be. And the reality of it is everyone's human, and they don't want you to be some sort of mold. Maybe some people tell you certain things, but they don't mean it. They actually just want authentic, real people, authentic, real connection, and that's secretly deep down what we're all craving. So if you're an artist or a creative thinking about getting on social media, before you do it, before you make the profile, before you make the first post, figure out your intentions and always lead with that. And if you can do that, kudos, because it's one of the hardest battles you'll ever fight, is being yourself. But it's one that you just want to keep on fighting. It's well worth doing. Coming on down here. I was alluding to a contract painting. The client will want to know the price prior to hiring you. Yes, indeed. So in those jobs, absolutely. You give a range and say, look, it's somewhere between 15, I think it's going to be somewhere between 10 and 14 hours. Somewhere between 10 and 14 hours, and this is my rough estimates on these costs. This is the quote. Now, if the costs go out of kilter and you spend 25 hours on it, I'm sorry, bad luck. You quoted for a max of 14, you went over, and that's trouble. But that's off your bat, just like we'd expect that to be on, sometimes, depending on the quoting process, on the contractor's back. If the contractor took 16 hours to do a job that he quoted for 11, we'd blame the plumber or the electrician for that. We also need to blame the artist for that. So in that sense, there's a little bit of responsibility that comes back to you, which can be a little bit unfortunate depending on the job, but it's the reality of it. I did have one where I quoted an exact price to JS, actually, for a landscape, beautiful picture. It's a castle, it had a swan in a lake. I loved it to bits. It was super fun to make, but the price that I'd quoted him, I actually ended up spending less time than I thought I was going to spend on it. And I thought, no, intentions, don't keep the cash, tell him. And so I said, JS, this is what you got charged. I know you're ready to pay it. It's actually, if we're being fair, now that we have hindsight, I can reduce it by, I think it was 25% or 30% or 20%. I can reduce it down because the actual hours I spent, there were less hours than I thought. And on one hand, you're just like, why don't you just keep the money? He was ready to pay it. What? It's weird. On one hand, you've got business ethics, and so you feel better at the end of the day. But on the other hand, I've got a meaningful long-term relationship with him now. And if you put these, if you don't conduct yourself in every situation with business ethics, you can run into a situation where you might not have that. And I'm only here to formulate those meaningful connections, relationships, and longevity and vitality and happiness. Why would I let 20%, which didn't even get spent on the job, and keeping that stop me from formulating that relationship? Okay, coming on down. Sandy's, I've never done a self-portrait of myself or of Shelby. Not yet. I might do myself at one point, but I haven't fully concluded my thoughts on what that would look like. So give me some more time. I would love to do it. I'm having my opinions changed by some people I've had conversations with about self-portraits. My historic opinion has been there's nothing more boring on the face of this planet than painting my own face. I'm sick of seeing it. I see it when I post reels. I see it when I post story pictures. I see it in the morning in the mirror. I don't want to paint it. Painting's my bastion of unique creativity, of new things, of discovering things. And then I realized that a self-portrait, I mean, this is funny because obviously doesn't have to be your face. It's painting a box or a rectangle of colored paint that represents you at this point in time. And that's when I realized, and so maybe in this case, we actually go a little bit different and we do one of an abstract painting that we haven't done in a while. And I can represent things in my life. I can represent myself, my own personal journey, people I love in my life, family, loved ones, and I can represent the things to come, children, career, other people who I may not have even met yet. And that could be really cool. So anyway, that's where my head's at now with a self-portrait, but still I haven't taken action there. It's just been thought about in the back of my mind at this current stage. Let me come on down here. Thanks, Jay, grabbing that question. You're an absolute legend. Do I own other artists' paintings? Absolutely, Sandy's. So Sandy's, in terms of question there, can you ship the painting Africa to the USA? Of course I can. Of course I can. It's actually only about the size, so shipping it is very easy. In terms of shipping it, I need to I've got a very small frame on it at the moment for the house that I'm in, but it actually needs a slightly different frame. So if you did want it, reach out via the link in the bio, email or Instagram DMs, and before I put a bigger, more booty frame on it, let's talk about it and talk about your own space, because you may say, no, I'm going to move it around. I prefer a black frame so it works everywhere. Or you can think, oh no, actually, that idea you've got, I'm into it. And right now I'm thinking a slightly thicker dark walnut frame. So then you've got the modern style, post-impressionism style painting with that sort of primal use of paint. And then you've got quite a modern, old school, elegant dark walnut frame, which I love the balance that comes in there. And do you own other artists' paintings? In terms of owning other artists' paintings, yes, absolutely I do. There's a lot of artists out there that I absolutely love. Usually they're friends of mine, and I know what they're trying to do. I understand their style, and I want to have it in my home. Just like I talk about a painting of mine, or a painting in general, being the thing that gives you that eighth of a cup of coffee in the morning to get you kick-started to love your day. In the same way, a painting from a friend you can put on your wall and not only remind you of them, their life journey and who they are becoming and who they are, it can give you that little vitality and joy boost. And part of the thing too is, rather than just buying their artwork, sometimes if you know their commission process, ordering a commission of something personal for both of you, you actually feed off their emotional investment. So if it's a picture of you two together, or in my case, I've ordered a commission from a friend who's our university group, and he does amazing anime pictures, characters via digital art. And he's creating us in the flat we used to be at university, and everyone who we knew was close friends in that friend group. And the plan is to turn it into prints, and every person can, he's still working on it, but the plan is to turn it into prints, and everyone who was in that friend group would be able to get a print, and we could all share in remembering a really special part of our lives, which is really cool. Anyway, coming on down here. Cheers, Steve. The largest painting I've ever done was 2 meters by 3 meters, and it's called Clint. It's so big that it would cost, I think it's going to cost $7,000 to ship it to the States. And so rather than even putting it up for sale, I keep it in my parents' house because they've got a very tall ceiling. So it's in the end room of the parents' house. It's Clint Eastwood zoomed up close face from The Good, Bad and the Ugly. And he's like sort of squinting with a cigarette in his mouth, and it's very cool. So huge. Really fun painting. Coming on down. Coming on down, coming on down, coming on down. All right, we're up to date. Okay. What have we got left? We're done number 10. We've got 11 and 12. Feedback. Is there a specific project or idea you'd like feedback on? I think we do a really good job of that currently. With things like Project Dancer, when I do have flexibility in a project, I love to put it forward to you guys, especially on the Art of Painting channel, and ask you guys, okay, here's the basic idea, here's the theme, here's the intentions, here's the directions it could go in. As long as we have the intention, I'm happy. So guys, what do you think we should do here? And then when everyone comes in, it's usually very unanimous. People like, with the painting one, everyone's like, I was thinking, honestly guys, before I put the poll up there, I thought it was going to be Foxtrot Ballroom. That was what I was planning. One of those old school style ballroom backgrounds with a couple doing a foxtrot with like a very direct pow to it. And honestly, now I think about that, it would have been fine, but it's nothing compared to what we ended up with when everyone voted for solo masculine modern dancer. I thought that's actually a really interesting comment. It's almost similar to the Hercules situation where we valued Hercules' ability to be painted in pink. Let's do a solo masculine modern dancer and bring the masculinity, or they already have it, but capture that masculinity in the singular moment of modern contemporary dance. Really unique. Really love that. Just on your lunch break, welcome on in. And wow, I love Clint. I also love doing large and super tiny canvases. Fair enough. I've done very, very few small works. Typically, I like to work on about this size, which is 36 inches by 48 inches. The reason I like that is I can reach all the corners from one stationary sort of boxing position. So as I'm painting, I can get an even spread of the colors. And once you go bigger than that, I like going really big, 2 meters by 3 meters. And then once we go smaller, the smallest I go is about the size of an A1, which if you're from America, A1 is 24 inches by 33 inches, I think. And so it's 24 by 34 inches, basically. And that's as small as I like to go to still get that movement inside the paint strokes. We have done a few smaller on the lives, but only a few. Usually that's the cream LD crop size. And, ooh, hybrid artistry. He's on the move. Yeah, fair enough, hybrid artistry. Thanks for coming on in. You're an absolute legend. Bye for now. Okay. Yeah, and so in terms of right now, the next bit of feedback I'm gonna get is gonna be on the painting series on TikTok. I really wanna hear about what you guys think about that. The teaching style. Usually we're doing a collaborative journey. Since it was done as a recording, I'm able to talk, but only as a past version of me to the current version of you. So it's quite interesting in terms of how that's going to affect the actual teaching style of it. And if you like it, or if it's clunky, or if I've made a mistake, or if I could improve somehow, I'd love to hear that. So if you do want to try it and paint along with me, it's this picture here. We've got 5 episodes out now. We've got another 15 to come. It's going to be only $1. It's on TikTok. It's the series there. $1 is the lowest price I could put on it. And yeah, I hope that it works for you right now, but I hope as we progress with it, you get more and more out of it as we go through the layers. And if you do it, please tell me what you thought, because I'm going to do a lot more of them. And I want to make sure that we get it in the right form to be the best learning resource or helpful resource, whether it be to bring you on a painting journey or to show you how to paint. as it can possibly be. So that's there. Okay, leather hides. No, I've never done leather hides, but I do like doing, painting on masonite, which is oil tempered hardboard, because it's very smooth. Canvas, because it's old school, it's coarse, it's quite fun and gritty. Definitely out of the canvases though. I think if you want something really primal and gritty, cotton's good, but if you want something more smooth and eloquent, linen's really good, but really, it's much of a muchness. Okay, coming on back in. Never painted on stone. Oh, I did actually, concrete at the, for the mural that I did on Nusa Lembongan before I left Indonesia to use up all the paint. That was on concrete and it used up so much the paint we had. It was fun. Anyway, coming back into it. We've got. And thanks, user. I appreciate that. I hope I haven't waffled too much or repeated myself too much, but we've still got one more half of feedback to get through, one last bullet point, cheers George, and after that we're through our list of 12 things. So this worked really, really well. If you enjoy this format, great. If you have any feedback for next Monday, let me know. I think we'll definitely aim to make it 120 minutes, and if we go over, primo. We've definitely gone over this time, but it's been kind of fun. You guys have been asking some really, really hot questions, and so we have avoided this a little bit to actually get involved with these more intense questions. And kudos to anyone who comes in here and feels comfortable being vulnerable enough to share their own art practices or struggles for us to actually talk about as a group and provide feedback on to actually progress their own creative endeavor or their personal endeavor, wherever that might be. Ever painted people? Yes, I have, James. It's fun. It's very, very intimate. It definitely has a new effect on the process of painting. It changes the way in which the painting gets made, because instead of being in a private space where you're staring at an image, the image is staring back at you because the individual exists in the space. And if you are going to do live painting, if you can handle it, and it's very, very intense, but I recommend having the individual not looking away from you, not covered up or anything like that, looking directly at you or in your direction. And having that adds this other dimension to it where you've got someone viewing you who you're viewing and making, and it adds this whole dynamic to it. Anyway, usually we work from photos though, because it allows you to deepen the colors because it's frozen there, so you can actually pull out the greens and magentas and blues and yellows, things that would go unnoticed in a brief fleeting moment of seeing something live, and you can work with it and build it up through 20 layers. So I like photos personally, but live has a special dimension, definitely. Okay. Steve, absolutely, definitely. Thank you very much. And Steve, I saw some feedback there, which I didn't get around to replying to, about getting a drop cloth here. We will. So after this, before I start doing more episodes on this, I've been talking to someone about getting a drop cloth. I don't know which color we're going to go for yet. Probably something in between. It won't be stark white. It won't be deep black. Honestly, I'm going to try and get maybe magenta. Like similar to the pink color of the studio we're in right now, which towards the end of this, actually right now, before I do these last two questions, I'll pick you guys up and show you the room we're in right now. Hold on. Up we come. So this is the painting here in this side of the room. And then we have our little light set up here. So we've got a couple of lights here, and we've got a tablet that I read the comments off, and our camera here. And then coming down here, this is my little desk space. Hold on, let me just get this thing adjusted here. Perfect. Sorry for all the shaking. This is my little desk space. I got this at an op shop. It's my magenta case, which I now love because it matches the color of the gallery thing here, Sedgauer Art, which is really fun. And classic line, this is when I say lead with intention. Whatever you are, be a good one. So that's really, really important. And then we have a little signature on the door here. But there's a little space But it's perfect to paint in. It's absolutely perfect to paint in. It's got all the room I need, and provided I keep it clean, it's just the perfect space to work in. And then that's my little air purifier. The air purifier doesn't allow you to use oils or acrylics in the studio. Don't get it excited. This is not the space for oils or acrylics, but it does allow you to know if anything you have used has had any sort of chemical effect on the room, which is basically, since we know the ingredients so intimately, you don't need to really have this. But if I'm telling you a little secret, I really like this air purifier because the whole building's on the same air conditioning, but the air that comes out of this is nice and cold. So if I turn on the air purifier, the room gets nice and chilly for painting, rather than being the same air conditioning as the rest of the building. So technically, air purifier, more like a little cooler. Okay. Do you read the comments or are they read out loud? Oh, thanks, Rob. Great to have you on the beach session yesterday. Yes, super fun. And yes, I do read the comments. Sometimes I just read them normally. Sometimes I lose track and I have to read them out loud. So if I'm staring at the screen like a buffoon, I'm probably slowly digesting your comment to try and then give an answer. But coming on down, how do you handle being a serious artist and people trying to objectify you? I think one of the things you have to realize, no matter what your creative endeavor is, Mac Attack, if you're going to be real and authentic and really expose yourself and being vulnerable, you have to realize the effect that's going to have, if you're successful, on anyone. And you got to realize, before I was an artist, you say objectify me, no one really cared about me. Like, I was just a person. And now that I paint and I'm actually able to expose myself through this art and things like this, I think suddenly everyone's like, oh, how does he do it? We've all got a responsibility in life to try and figure out how we can best express ourselves and be the best version of ourselves. And for me, before I found out, that's my big thing. Anyway, do you ever get distracted by the outside of your office apartment? I do get pretty distracted sometimes. People watching is fantastic here. Like I talked about in the previous reel, it's great having people around. It's great being part of a community. You feel like, as I'm talking to you right now, people are walking past, seeing me. You'll see me wave occasionally. This environment is a welcoming environment. There are people here. I'm encouraged to pursue my career, my craft. It's the perfect place to be. But yes, they watch in, I can see out. It's a big glass box. It's pretty fun. Coming on down, one of my favorite Abraham Lincoln quotes, deal me up. Whatever you are, be a good one. See, and I think the more you think about that, the more beautiful it becomes. And my mother used to say that to me, or tell me that she used to love that quote. And so it really always stuck with me. And then as I became a painter and started talking about pursuing art for good and using it to create vitality and joy in the world where you can, that's why it became the fundamental quote of everything I want to be as a painter. Whatever you are, be a good one. All right, just 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes? It's funny you say that, because I've only got 13% battery left. So we're about to have to cut this short, but I've got 3 more things to do on the iPad, and then we're good to go. All right, coming on down, some up time. What time is it here? It's 1:10, and we are going to move on to the last question from feedback. Offer constructive feedback to someone who shares their work or plans. I think we've been doing that a lot so far. The best feedback I think we've done this morning, I hope you don't mind me bringing your name up again, Jen. You feeling the confidence to come in here and share where you're at with your artwork and hating everything you've made, and being able to provide feedback from my own creative process where I started disliking everything I was making, realizing that actually all the reasons I was coming up with were all uniquely different, and therefore it wasn't the art, it was my own self-resentment for who I was at the time, and I needed to address that before my art could progress. That was, I feel like that was helpful and constructive. So I really hope you take that on board and run with it in a positive, meaningful direction, and hopefully either fix that craft element, which is annoying you about your art, or actually find a place or a direction that you can take your current situation that'll make you happier or more vitalized to bring that into your art. Because if your art's really reflecting you, and you're currently resenting yourself, expect to see resentment and dislike in your art. And it's the sort of thing that you can only really see in hindsight. Now that I've grown through that stage of my artistic career, to look back on it, it's all as clear as day. But no one can tell you. You need to go through those loops yourself. Okay, so that one's ticked. Last one. We're on to number 12, guys. Number 12, the last one. This is Future Outlook. Okay, Monday, we're on 10 past 1, and the Future Outlook is share your vision for the future, either for your work or for the broader community. Okay. My vision for the future, for myself and the broader community, I would like to see myself flesh out the answer of the intention of sharing vitality and joy, and flesh that answer out more and actually see where I can take artistic process, where I can take this. I think there's more that I can do that I'm not doing. I think there's things that I am doing that I could do more of. And I would like to see the broader community actually, of artists specifically, actually really engage with their practice in a way that actually makes people feel more comfortable to be themselves. When I say that, I mean, imagine if you could be more vulnerable and exposed through your art, and in turn give permission to other people to do the same in their own lives. Kind of like Jim Carrey as an actor, who was able to act so outlandishly on set, so melodramatic, and then through that process, every other actor had complete permission. Every person in the room got complete permission to do whatever they wanted to do, because no one was a bigger fool than Jim Carrey. And in that same sense, an artist can be that in their own social circles and rooms, because you have the ability to be so exposed and vulnerable through the art that suddenly nothing anyone else could say or reveal would be jarring or surprising to the room. It would be welcomed. And so as an artist, I'd love to see artists take that responsibility to the broader community as we continue with our careers. And for myself, I'd love to see more tangible impacts of vitality and joy being spread. Anyway, there we go. Okay, Shelby does not paint. But she's very supportive of me painting. Okay, last question. You ready? Here we go. On Future Outlook, number 12. We've done 11 so far. We're on number 12. We've done half of number 12. This is the last one. And then I've got to do my little checklist, which is uploading prints and a few other things. And which is lucky, because we're on 11%. We've really burned through my battery here. Lives eat your battery, which is really strange. Like, it must just be the constant feed of it. It just takes a toll on the phone. Anyway, okay. How do you envision making a positive impact in the coming months? I think one of the things I've fantasized about in terms of making an impact in the coming months is with Movember, the silly little growing of a mustache. It's been a seed that facts stranger than fiction. You're all good. Sorry, I was in my own little world. 5'11". But yeah, the reason I look shorter is I've got little legs, long torso, little legs. But you know what? I love it. Little legs is great because I get to be 5'11", which is right about the right size, but when I go into a bus seat, I've got plenty of leg room. Anyway, by the by, coming back to that last question, I am looking at things like, and hey Crystal, welcome on in. You've come right in here at the tail end, but it's good to have you here. We've been live since about 9:30 a.m. answering all sorts of questions. For those who don't know, we started with a question to Chatbot GBT. I said, Chatbot GBT, You're all good, Crystal. Probably working late or studying late, one of the two. Ask ChatbotGPT, I said, I'm an artist, full-time visual artist. I want to do a talk on Monday with people from all around the world, not just creatives, but people who want to, a part of this online community. What questions would be really, really tough to answer and meaningful to answer for people who aren't just artists, but everyone who would want to tune in, and make it for a Monday, so it's like a Kickstarter. And yeah, it threw me 12 pieces, which came as curveballs. A couple of the questions were quite tough. People have come in with amazing questions as we've gone through the process. Really appreciated everyone who got involved. You're all amazing. And how supportive you've been, not just to me, but to everyone else who asked questions. I think a couple of people came in here and asked their own questions and felt pretty included. I saw that in the comments coming through it, so that was pretty cool to watch. Despite that, last question there for the coming months is, this mustache, the silly little mustache from November, planted a seed in me that made me start thinking about art being something which, that being something that could happen actually monthly, not the mustache style of thing, but what if we were able to choose a charity once a month, pick a direction and make a project and make a work of art, and decide on it via the Art of Painting channel, to then actually go and make the piece of art, auction it off, and every month get these donations for whatever the paintings can sell for. Man, it's just yapping. Oh, I'm sorry, X. It's I'm trying to speak about this clearly, but it's still an idea in the process. Oh, X, you got muted. I'm sorry, X. I'm still going to answer your question there, X, even though you're muted. But if you hang around, I really appreciate it. And if you've got any comments to make back on what I say, I'd absolutely love you to message me on Instagram. So the idea I've got is to set up an online auction. So the paintings would get auctioned off via the website. It would cover the cost of the painting, material. Sorry, Jay Smith. He or she was being negative. You did the right thing, but I will still answer the question just to show them respect. The paintings would get auctioned off via the website, and in terms of, and I do waffle a little bit, sorry guys, because you talk for a long time, and I get lost in my own trail of thought, and it happens. So anyway, auction on the website. The reserve price would be covering the cost of the artwork, the paint, the time, the shipping and things like that. That would all be covered. And then every other dollar would go to a charity chosen each month. And so November would be mental health and suicide awareness. And then December would have its own unique charity that would choose, would auction off the painting. The auction would go for the entire month. And then basically we'd hope that the people who, we'd hope to have something one in every 12 months, one for every of the 12 months, and have it as an initiative, which just always happened. You'd have your commissions happening in the background that we do live together, and then you'd have that month's project which you put together, and then it goes towards a certain charity. We can talk about it, we can bring attention to whatever charity that might be, what they're doing, where they're succeeding, what their intentions are, and how we're going to actually transmute that or augment that onto the painting that we're making. So there's my little dream or plan for the next few months. It depends on how hard it is to build the online auction platform. It won't work if it's difficult. It's got to be very simple, very sleek, very automated. So I've been working with my great tech crew on that. My tech guy on that, and my an amazing third-party provider to see if we can get it all teed up. If we can, I'd love to do it. I reckon it'd be meaningful. And then the other thing I want to do too, I've talked to you guys about, is releasing prints as giveaways to people. With the hope, I'm not sure where to do it or how to do it, but the idea of actually saying who you think needs art, rather than saying, oh, give me art. Say, no, I know someone called Jim or Sally, and this is their address. I would love for them to get the piece of art because of this. And then we'd select one a month as well and send them a print. And they would put artwork into homes that may not have it at the moment, but still need that joy and vitality. And it could be just another initiative that we do just in the studio to try and look after people. So these are the things I'm I'm fantasizing about and that I want to put together that I haven't done yet. And so when we talk about having a positive impact on myself and the wider community, these are the two big initiatives right now that I see are the best way for me to lead with intention, to look after people, and to achieve the reason why I started painting in the first place. Yeah, but at the moment, guys, they are just fantasies. I haven't managed to initiate them yet. So watch this space. Hopefully I succeed. Who knows? Anyway, what do you think of the late artist Pro Hart? He inspired me to paint Bibles. I have not seen his stuff, but since we're about to finish up here, I can't wait to have a look. So thanks, Sandys. I appreciate the suggestion there. I'll get back to you. And Archer, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, mate. All right, guys. That concludes our little session. I'll ask the same questions of Chatbot GBT next time, see what he comes up with. If you've got anything in particular you'd like me to spend 30 minutes, 45 minutes, however long, yakking about next week, don't be afraid to reach out via the inbox here in Instagram, or on TikTok, or on Instagram, or via email. Say, if you don't feel comfortable coming into this environment and being vulnerable and saying, hey, here's where I'm struggling, here's where I'm battling, can you talk about this? Reach out via email where no one else can see it. I won't mention you if you don't want me to. I'll just say, this is what we're talking about, and we can actually engage with the issue you're having and really flesh it out, and not only hear my perspective, but allow other people who might be in this room here to provide their perspectives for us to make ground. Anyway, you're all a bunch of champions. No. So Crystal, in terms of Movember, I'm surprised there's even a mustache that can be seen. I'm usually getting just peach fuzz on my face. So this has caught me off guard that I could actually grow a mustache. That hasn't been a thing that Seb's been able to do historically. So we've got a little mustache coming in here, but there's no Movember link. What I wanted to do was auction a painting off and then give the proceeds to Movember. So that would be our way of donating. But I'm just still working on setting up the actual auction platform to make it possible. So bear with me for now. Hopefully we can get that sorted, and the mustache will be to raise awareness for painting, which will make money for Movember, to hopefully help mental health and suicide prevention and prostate cancer here in New Zealand. With a bit of luck, we'll see. And you're totally welcome, Sandys. Thanks for joining in here. You're an absolute legend. Jack, do I get embarrassed? No, I think I just get absolutely blown away and humbled by the amount of wholesome comments that come in here, the amount of constructive questions, and the amount of love. Because like I tell you, with social media, there's a lot of stuff on here which gives social media a really bad rap, and rightly so. But there are pockets, bastions of places that actually are very, very wholesome, and they encourage love and vitality and joy, and most importantly, connection. And I want to encourage that. And I'm very, very lucky that I had some amazing mentors, peers and mentors, who when I came onto social media, mentored me into saying, when you go onto these platforms, or when you go out there, become an artist, and you start doing whatever you do, lead with intention. And I was very, very lucky that so far I've managed to do that. And I hope that social media doesn't change me or you in whatever you plan on doing, and you're always able to actually come on here, and if connection and love and vitality and happiness is what you're after, I hope that a digital platform can bring that into your life, because that's pretty cool if it can. Anyway, without yarning about that again, my phone's now on 4%. It's about to die. I've got my own little checklist I need to get done for Monday. It's uploading some prints that I need to get onto my little notes. I should check my notes. I've got to upload some prints onto the website. If you're, like I was saying earlier, if you've been watching so far and you're feeling super inspired, please do not buy a print. I said this at the start, I'm going to say it again, do not buy a print. There's 4 more to be uploaded, and hopefully I managed to sort it out today and get them on Shopify. If they're all up there for you, then you'll have all the options available to you. I'd hate for you to buy one now and then prefer one of the other ones. So give me, today to sort that out. And then the other things I wanted to do was a couple more layers on this for the series. If you do want to join the series, which is on Instagram, TikTok now, and you do a few of the lessons, please tell me how you found them, and please be harsh. I want to make sure the way it's taught and the way it includes you on the journey is the best way to do it. So there we go. Anyway, if it's morning or night, wherever you are in the world, good morning America. No, this is New Zealand, and it's now after lunch, and I'm hungry, so I'm going to fix that, actually. I'm going to eat something. That's a good plan. Can't just drink coffee all day. I'm already most of the way through this water bottle. All right, sorry. I know I'm saying goodbye the whole time, and I keep staying, and it gets awkward. I totally get it. It's like when you say goodbye to someone, and then you walk in the same direction to the car park. We won't do that. It's been fantastic spending the morning with you guys. One last note, stay hydrated. It's the best feedback I can do, guys. I know there's all these giant feelings and emotions and journeys we're all going on, but the most important thing to do is just drink plenty of water, because that's important. And Jay Smith, special shout out. You're an absolute legend. Really appreciate your help. We had some incredible people who asked some incredible questions, constructive questions, and we had some not so constructive stuff that Jay Smith just got out of the way as we were going. So special shout out to you for that. And phenomenal to have everyone here, all the regulars, always a pleasure. And yes, just to finish it off, we hit the 40K mark. So, and Victoria, good to have you here too. Oh, that's fun. Hit the 40K mark, so that's pretty cool for the first Monday. I mean, we need a name for this. The working title is Monday Kickstarter. I'm happy to change that. It feels too much like a car advert, so we'll see. Okay, guys, catch you later. Hope your day is going great. If you're in bed, please don't go doom scrolling. Get a good night's sleep, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Now I need to find the button. Found it. There we go.